Part 28. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 271. A monk who had been declared dead suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Rao was a monk of nascent soul, and he felt a little terrified. There are also people who have a good relationship with Lu ancestors. When I received the news of his death, I was lost for a while. I also searched for Lu Huijing's whereabouts for him in private. Happy. You guy, you didn't send a message earlier, which made me sad for a lot of time. Lu Lazu patted his friend's shoulder with emotion. At that time, it was a last resort. Unless you escape by suspended animation, the news you received will be true. Which dares to treat him like this? Is his surname Huo? The friend said angrily. I'm wrong about this, too. Ancestor Lu didn't want to say more about this matter, turned around and told others about the passage, and the root cause of the disconnection between Qinhao continent and Wanluo continent, and solved everyone's doubts, why it will let an outside cultivator find a solution. Why an outside cultivator would know so much about Wanluo continent is all from the memory of a remnant soul from Wanluo continent. It was the first time that Monk Tang learned the specific situation from Lazulu, and he couldn't help but smile bitterly. It turns out that the whole incident is so simple. Our primordial infant monk in Qinhao continent was delayed by a monk who wandered over not knowing how many years ago. We have been the way out that we have been looking for is actually right under our noses. I think someone, Tang, has also been in and out of the Sea of Ghosts a few times, and he has also been in the sea, but he has never found the cultivator's legacy, opportunity. It just passed by. When they got to this point, they could actually feel their luck. Those who can cultivate to the nascent soul stage may not have the best talent. Many of their peers have fallen in the middle of their cultivation. The aptitude is not so superior until now. No one can say who can take a step forward in the future, but the opportunity is in front of us. No one wants to miss it. Even if it fails, it is willing. I'm afraid of being trapped in a cage and don't know how to break the cage. That foreign cultivator really hurt us, but people are dead, and there is no way to settle accounts with him. Fortunately, he didn't have a good result, and even the remnant couldn't escape. Soul capture is successful, and it will take many years for the channel to be constructed and opened, and it may not be so exciting. It is very likely that he quietly completed it in private. Then what are we going to do now? Asked Daoist Lu and Daoist Tang to speak obviously. He was on the same line with Lu ancestor and Tang monk. Tang Xiu smiled slightly. Even though he expected this result, he was still satisfied. We old guys have too much free time. It's time to come out and do activities, so as not to rust. Even if we have the opportunity to leave in the future, but our disciples, grandchildren, and descendants still have to live here, so we can't leave them a smoky environment. If there is a chance to come back and see again in the future, I hope that everything on Qinhao continent will be prosperous. That's right, Daiyu Tang is right. If those guys continue to do it, it may be difficult for even nascent soul cultivators to appear on Qinhao continent in the future. After all, this is where we were born and raised, and no one is allowed to destroy it. The deeper the cultivator's cultivation, the weaker and weaker the relationship may be, but they still have such a sense of belonging to this continent. Who would like to see Qinhao continent become a world of monsters and demons in the future, squeezing the right way into nowhere to survive? And if they are not cleaned up now, will they still be left to their disciples and descendants? It definitely can't. It can't be beat at all. If there is a real chance to leave, I don't know if there is a possibility of coming back in the future, so I can't leave a big trouble for the younger generation. It is better for them to clean up. Everyone agreed, and Cultivator Tang reached an agreement to act together with the Demon Cultivator and the Business Alliance. The three parties have a common goal, so those differences and contradictions can be ignored. Just wait for the big event to be completed. In the process, Lu Lazu also asked Yin Hua if he wanted to reveal his identity, but Yin Hua refused. he still stayed behind to watch these people jumping at the front desk, which also led to the fact that he knew his existence. There are not many people, but Patriarch Yin and Zhang Qianfeng guessed it to some extent. After all, Gu Yao asked them to help them find it. Knowing that such an uncle exists, and the stall is so big now, it is impossible for Gu Yao and Qi Changjai to be able to do it. If you can do it, there must be someone behind you to help. Patriarch Yin doesn't mind the participation of so many monks. The more people, the better, and the more resources that can be gathered. After everyone leaves in the future, the forces that remain on the Qinhao continent should be evenly matched, otherwise the demon cultivators will be evenly matched. With weakened power, can human cultivators allow demon cultivators to coexist peacefully with them? Ever since Gu Yao learned about this, Patriarch Yin returned to the western region to mobilize the main force of Yaoxiu. Although he was the patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan, Yaoxiu was not the only one of the Silver Wolf clan. Fortunately, there was the cooperation of the Fox clan. Things went smoothly, but some demon cultivators always felt that it was a conspiracy of human cultivators, and wanted to weaken the demon cultivators' power through this move. Patriarch Yin really wanted to say that being stupid and thinking too much is a disease, no wonder he is always played around by the Fox clan. A few stubborn Yaoxiu Yin patriarch ignored the rationale and sent the matter over, and then he had to accompany his younger son. This matter is also a big deal for the business alliance, and when the demons are rampant, the business alliance has also become their target. Often when the business alliance branch asks for help from the nearby sect forces, it always encounters various excuses to delay. When they arrived, the branch suffered heavy losses. After several times, the business alliance could not see the reason behind it, which made the few firms that suffered heavy losses hated their teeth, but there was no evidence to blame the other party. Now, as soon as Cultivator Tang proposed cooperation, many elders of the business alliance immediately agreed, and the business alliance also wanted a channel. What is the purpose of the developer firm to earn lingxi? In the final analysis, it is not to obtain more resources, but to cultivate. After reaching a certain stage, if you want to go further, you have to leave Qinhao continent. The strength of the three-party joint action depends on how strong the competition is. You can only see the success of the operations against the evil demons and the crooked way. The sect forces that were originally just playing small troubles have sent the elite and backbone of the forces this time. Set, give a painful blow to the evil demons and the monsters that are raging on the mainland, especially those monks who have Yuan Ying monks sitting behind them, to ensure that the casualties of the monks are minimized. Tang Xiu and Yin Patriarch gathered a group of masters in the nascent soul to go to the Giwahe to sweep the strongholds established by the behind-the-scenes organizations. Some of the locations were provided by Yin Hua, who was hidden behind. After clearing up some of the situation, it was just provided at the moment, and some locations were found in the other party's mind. There is no need for mercy when dealing with enemies and demons. When they arrived at the Sea of Ghosts, they found that the name of the Sea of Ghosts is not true. They can't see it at ordinary times. Even if there is a ghost, it is very thin and can't hinder them in the slightest. Thinking of it, it is probably related to the opportunity Gu Yao got. The original ghost fog should have another mystery, but they couldn't find it even if they came. The weakening of the ghost fog made it easier for them to do things. The nascent soul cultivators moved very quickly. The huge sea area made them discover that there were more than a dozen islands hiding their strongholds. Once they were discovered, a group of nascent soul cultivators rushed towards them and couldn't help but sigh. The stronghold was completely removed. Needless to say, the scene they saw was somewhat unbearable, even with the firmness of the nascent soul cultivator. Some people thought that if they really didn't act at this time, maybe one day they would really lose control completely, dragging the entire Qinhao continent into the abyss, turning it into a place where monsters were rampant, and human beings would have to survive. Just after eradicating a stronghold, Cultivator Tang threw out his mobile cave, and asked everyone to rest inside. Some cultivators of nascent soul also brought the juniors of Jindan stage out for training. Those opponents who were lower than the strength of nascent soul were all set aside for them. If you take action, if they watch, you can let go and fight, not all the time when there are so many masters of nascent soul to them. The Jindan cultivators who came here were all very excited, and they gathered together to talk during the break. They were actually very curious about the alchemist Guyao, who was often mentioned by Yuanying seniors. The patriarch and senior Tang also praised from time to time. I know that this ancient Yao alchemist is actually Yao alchemist, and he is also the real owner of Lu alchemy who later solved the strange poison, the real owner of the quenching spirit pill and the clear dust pill. I don't know how high is the reward for alchemist Guyao secretly. How dare you run out in such a situation? Yeah, I heard that Han Chi, the alchemist who was the leader of the company's Immortal Gate, couldn't solve the strange poison. Instead, he was given an antidote by a late-stage alchemist. Now many alchemists outside have put him with the 6th grade alchemist. Qi Ping's status has risen. We must know that his cultivation base is similar to ours, and he has not yet broken through nascent soul. It's a pity, otherwise, I really want to meet this alchemy genius for a while. It's amazing that he can beat alchemist Han. Some people praised it, some people were fascinated, and some people wanted to make friends with them. Their elders said that if they had the help of the best pills when they condensed the infant, the chance of condensing the infant would be greatly increased. It's a pity that no one knows what identity he has changed now and where he is hiding. The juniors stayed in one place, and the nascent soul bosses stayed in the same place. Cultivator Tang received one message after another, and the same situation happened to the nascent soul present here. Tang Xiu sneered and said, Huo Zhangman asked me why the Changxianman was excluded from this operation, and asked us to give an explanation to the Changxianman. There is also the Wu alchemist, asking where we are. He wants to negotiate with us on something. They're in a hurry. Guyao was out of the gate, and together with Qi Changjai, they inquired about the news outside a little, and there was a feeling of not knowing where they were. Could it be that they accidentally closed the gate for decades? Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 272. Guyao and Qi Changjai disguised themselves and went out to inquire about further news, and only then did they guess the development of the situation. Needless to say, it must be inseparable from Yinhua's actions. The linkage of the three forces has caused quite a stir on Qinhao continent, especially their devastating blows to monsters and demons, making every cultivator applaud when they see it, and also drive more cultivators to join in, making the original arrogant the endless demonic ways and evil cultivators have restrained a lot, shrinking and consolidating their own power territory, instead of blindly expanding as before. And there is a big boss in the magic way who wants to sit down and talk with the monks of the right way. They are willing to be with the forces of the right way, and they have pointed out that they want to talk with Monk Tang. He doesn't trust the monks in other big sections. After the words of the big boss in the magic road came out, it caused a lot of discussion among the monks. Some people thought that this was an opportunity to negotiate, and some people thought that the characters of the magic way were not credible. They might tear up the agreement and stab the right way in the back. After all, the cultivation method of the magic way is the same as the right way are incompatible with each other. The situation is developing so fast, I really thought it's been decades, at least more than 10 years. When he first heard the news from outside, Guyao was really startled, and at the same time he felt that it was impossible for him to shut up. Closed for so long. Qi Changjai praised. Uncle said that he also took advantage of the situation, grasped the psychology of that part of the monks, pushed a little behind the back, and formed the current situation. Beijing was born on this continent, and he is more concerned about the situation on the continent than us. Familiar. Relying on him and Guyao can't do this, it will take more time to have an effect. Guyao agreed with what Qi Changjai said, and he asked, "Brother Ye, do you think the righteous way will sit down with the demonic way to make peace? I never thought before that the demonic way was hidden deep enough on the mainland. It seems that this force is not weak." Chi Changjai thought for a while and said, "I tend to sit down and talk. After all, magic is the enemy on the table, and the people behind are the most difficult to solve. The reputation of the righteous way has been greatly damaged, and I am afraid that no one of these major sects can escape, and the righteous way of the Kinhao continent will fall into chaos, and the most profitable may be the group of demons. I think cultivators Tang and their plans and goals have been leaked long ago. There are many people, and it is impossible to guarantee that there will be cultivators in the behind-the-scenes organization, and there may be spies from the magic way, and there are also cultivators in the magic way. They also want to go to higher compared with such a future. Expanding the territory and expanding the power is not so important." Chi Changjai laughed again. "Besides, Mo Dao actually holds the handle of the righteous way in his hands, and this handle was sent to them by the behind-the-scenes organization, and the demonic way can be considered fearless. I believe that the people of the righteous way of cultivator Tang will definitely be with them." Cooperate. Guyao basked his mouth. It was too complicated. Rather than entangled in these complicated forces, it is better to study his alchemy. What is righteousness and what is demonic, Guyao can't tell clearly, because he has seen righteous people doing the most evil deeds. As for demons, he is not very familiar with them, but he thinks that demons are all evil. On the way back, Guyao asked, "What about the Changxian Gate? Could it be that the Changxian Gate is still standing there after the incident?" Chi Changjai smiled faintly. "It depends on the outcome of the negotiations between the two parties. It is difficult for Changxian sect to survive without damage. With so many loose cultivators who end up miserably, there must be a first evil to pay the price. If this is the case, Guyao will be relieved somewhat. Whether it is the Huo family father and son or the alchemist, in Guyao's eyes, they are more evil than demons. What is the principle of their immortality?" He also knew that under such a comprehension background of the weak and the strong, it was impossible to achieve a peaceful and prosperous world, and his purpose was only to let Tianlin continent get rid of the control of Changxianmen, not to let all monks be trapped in Tianlin continent. Just like what the Yuanying monks on Kinhao continent are doing now. The situation outside made Guyao and Chi Changjai stay here to cultivate in peace. Both of them have made great progress in this retreat. Chi Changjai has reached the golden elixir, so he slowed down his cultivation and was in front of Guyao. After leaving the customs, look at Yin Hua's collection of books and jade slips placed in the cave, and sharpen his mood. Maybe when the time comes, the opportunity to break through nascent soul will come. Guyao's cultivation has also reached the late stage of Jindan, but now with the help of Mou and his own spiritual cultivation, the real combat power is not necessarily much lower than that of Jindan. The development of the situation outside also gave him an idea. He should refine a batch of medicinal pills. If he wants to gain a firm foothold on this continent, he still needs his pills to speak. Not long after returning to the retreat, the two received a communication from Lu Huajing and Tian Firong. The two already knew that Yin Hua had other arrangements for them, and they were also working hard to cultivate and improve themselves. They thought it was good. After reading the news, Chi Changjai's eyes first flashed with surprise, and then it became clear. Yan Yuanjing condensed into Yuanying to become Yuanying cultivator, which is expected. His cultivation base is higher than mine, and the foundation is very solid. Although he was sentenced to confinement in recent years, it was not the best result for Yan Yuanjing. He could cultivate with a calm mind. Now he has made a breakthrough. The timing of this breakthrough is a bit delicate. I don't know how he will choose. Chi Changjai said that he was looking forward to it. Yan Yuanjing could not be said to be evil, but he had his own persistence and principles in his heart. If his principle was to protect the sect, I am afraid that in the end he would have to face it. As for Yan Yuanjing to break through nascent soul by himself, the 10-year appointment is not far away, but Qi Changjai is not very worried about that battle, and it is the most important thing that he fights steadily. So this news did not cause much fluctuation to Qi Changjai's heart block. What's up? What did fellow Daoist Qi say? Yang Muking asked Lu Huajing worriedly. The news that Yan Yuanjing had broken through nascent soul reached their ears, and it was immediately passed on to Qi Changjai. Lu Huajing smiled and said, "It should be fine, Dao Qi let us practice with peace of mind, presumably even if the two of them meet, Dao Qi may not be defeated without a fight. I just didn't expect that senior brother Yan would step out so quickly. This step, no, I can't be called senior now. But the uncle." Yang Wei pouted in his heart, "They can't even go back to Changxianmen now, is there a difference between the senior brother and senior uncle? If we meet again, maybe it's time to call him senior. Senior brother, what do you think of Uncle Yan's view of what's going on in the door?" Lu Huajing shook his head, "I don't know, but Master Yan and Dao Qi should have been attracted to each other at the beginning, otherwise they would not agree to the battle with Dao Qi regardless of the interests of the section. But at the same time, he knew that Uncle Yan was like a thug trained by the section at such a time, would he not send Uncle Yan to the place where he was most needed? The island in the Sea of Ghosts. The three masters of the late nascent soul landed on the island together, with a master of nascent soul beside each. "Fellow Daoist Tang, why did you ask us to come here?" Patriarch Yan asked first. The leader of the business alliance is also a master of the late Yuanying period, surnamed Meng, and the person next to him is Zhang Qianfeng. The leader of the Meng alliance bowed his hands to the two of them, saying that it must be the matter of the old spider that day, and the old guy also sent a letter to Meng. The old devil of the spider is the leader of the magic way. In fact, Meng has had private contact with him before, and when they reach their level, the so-called persistence of Zheng and the devil is not so important. Tang Xiu smiled and said, "Yes, in fact, the appearance of the old spider demon at this time has relieved our siege. Otherwise, facing the urging of Huo sect and Wu alchemist, I just don't know what to do. It's just that you all know, if you promise the old demon of the spider, then the righteous way will not be able to suppress the demonic way, and there will be a seat for the demonic way on this continent." The Silver Patriarch listened to their conversation with his hands behind his back, but did not express much opinion. In fact, with the rise of the magic way, the human righteous camp was the most affected, and the demon cultivator was the next. Speaking of which, the demon cultivator had a credit for being completely suppressed in the first place. At that time, it was people who repaired the way and the demon cultivator jointly cooperated, and it was because of this that there was a tacit understanding between the righteous party and the demon cultivator, which will not happen in the big picture. Battle of Shemales. If the righteous way and the demonic way really let go of their old grievances, it is actually the most unfavorable for the demon cultivator camp. The alliance between humans and demons is very fragile. But the current situation does not allow one to turn a blind eye to the devil's way. If the devil's way, especially the old spider that day, is not brought in, they will leave in the future. Wouldn't they allow the old spider to take revenge on their forces? Meng said, "If you don't agree to the old demon of the spider, I'm afraid that he and the guys behind the scenes will really be forced together, and the consequences will be more serious. Although the demons were rampant before, the old demon of the spider did not really take action. I heard that his cultivation has improved to a higher level now." Tang Xiu said thoughtfully, "So it depends on whether the old spider is willing to cut the flesh or not. I think we can talk about it. What do you think, Patriarch Yin?" The Silver Patriarch shrugged, "I have no opinion. Since you guys have made up your mind, it's better to inform the old demon of the spider as soon as possible." Tang Xiu nodded, "All right, this matter needs to be resolved quickly." The 6 people stayed on this island, and the other nascent soul monks continued to search for suspicious islands. It was necessary to remove those strongholds to prevent the spring breeze from blowing again. After half a day, there was wanton laughter in the air. The six looked up and saw a cultivator stepping on a huge spider. It wasn't the old spider that day. This guy was in great trouble because he was beside him. The big spider named Tianzu also has the strength of nascent soul. The three masters of the late nascent soul present are not necessarily the opponents of the old demon of the sky spider. That day, the spider seemed to be crawling in the air, its claws moved quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it reached the sky above the island, and the laughter seemed to be still in my ears, and the old demon above said, "Several Taoists, long time no see, but I miss the old man. Demon me." Speaking of that, the man floated to the island, and he stepped off the back of the spider. That day, the spider's back was dark red, and it looked like a fine glass was embedded in the back. The old demon patted its claws. He quickly climbed to the side. Said to be an old demon, but he looks very young, but he looks like he is in his 20s or 30s, his complexion is pale, and his figure is still a little thin, like a malnourished person, but his eyes flash like the back of a spider from time to time. The blood-red color makes people feel nervous. This old demon has been subdued for many years, and now I am afraid that it will be more and more difficult to deal with. The old demon of the sky spider looked a little feminine when he smiled, but even the silver patriarch would not look down on him because of this, Cultivator Tang said helplessly. Since the old demon is here, it's more important to talk about business. With an expression of "you are so boring," the old demon of the spider walked aside, waved his hand, and released a large chair that looked like it was made of animal bones. Seeing this, Xiu Tang and others reluctantly waved a stone bench and sat down. Otherwise, would they be standing and talking to the sitting old demon? It would appear that they were the subordinates of the old demon, who would put themselves in the position of a dwarf. The old demon held his chin in one hand and asked, "Can you really build a passage to leave? That side is called Wanluo continent? There are many cultivators." "That's right," Tang Cultivator raised his eyebrows, "and there is not only the Wanluo continent, but also the spirit realm above the Wanluo continent. That's where the cultivator I'm going to finally go to, and that's where the ascension that I'm waiting for can truly be realized." A fairy's dream. The old demon's eyes were full of interest. "It seems that you have not lied to the old demon, so let's cooperate, but the old demon, I have a request. The old demon, I quite like the little alchemist." Several people's faces sank. This day, the old spider demon actually made Gu Yao's idea. Did he really intend to discuss cooperation? Patriarch Yin hadn't spoken before, but now he said, "Could it be that the old demon of the sky spider has the idea of not giving up on both sides? It's true that you are interested in that alchemist, old demon, but you won't take it seriously. To the point of taking him as a breaker, no matter what other people think, it will never work with me. He is kind to my son." Zhang Qianfeng shook his head secretly at Meng Meng, and Meng Meng said, "I can't do it here, and that Junior is not a magician. Even if you like Lao Mo, he can't switch to magic. By the way, the monk beside him is Lei Xianjian. Xiu, that is the nemesis of the devil's way." Tang Xiu spread his hands and said, "Look at the old devil, you came up with a condition that would make everyone embarrassed, and we can't talk about this cooperation. Old devil, we might as well talk frankly and frankly. Well, you want that alchemist for the witch alchemist? But I think that the talent potential of that alchemist is not necessarily lower than that of the alchemist, and maybe he can go higher and farther than the alchemist in the future." The old demon leaned back on the chair and said evilly, "I haven't seen the little alchemist in person. Why don't you call him over and let the old demon take a few more glances, maybe I can judge it." Tang Xiu said helplessly, "The little alchemist in your mouth is the key person in the construction of the channel. Do you really want to send him to the Wu alchemist as a human love? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 273. The old demon of the spider was really interested this time. His eyes lit up and said, "How do you say this? How come this little alchemist has become a key figure?" Tang Xiu was helpless and told the story of Gu Yao's encounter with the remnant soul of a monk from Wanluo continent in the Sea of Ghosts, so the most critical step in the construction of this channel is still in the hands of Gu Yao, while Wu Alchemist it's just to look at the inheritance of alchemy in the hands of Alchemist Gu Yao, which is more important. What does the old devil think? The Silver Patriarch said angrily, "I think that the surnamed Wu is almost at the end of the road. How much development stamina does he have? Sooner or later, he will be compared by the alchemist Gu Yao. The demon cultivator is still sensitive to the way of heaven and earth in the dark, especially the blood of the Silver Patriarch is relatively high. In his opinion, the surnamed Wu has completely gone down the wrong road, and sooner or later he has to do what he did. Pay the price." Old Demon Sky Spider didn't expect these few to be so optimistic about a little alchemist. It seems that the person Wu Lao wants is very capable. He touched his chin and said, "That doesn't seem to work. Okay, I don't. It's not enough to hit him. If there is a chance in the future, it will take a while." The Sky Spider old demon is also very straightforward. Such a key person really cannot fall into the hands of Wu Lao. As for the good things he promised before, he don't give Wu Lao an explanation. Shit, his old demon has always acted so casually. Wu Lao dared to let the spider swallow him. It just so happens that the poisonous body is a big supplement to the Sky Spider. So the old demon of the spider turned around without any psychological burden and sold the alchemist Wu. Then he took a jade slip that recorded the materials needed to build the channel, and told the spider to pat his and left, leaving Monk Tang and Leader Meng and others are both angry and funny. This old demon, forget it, as long as he restrains those demonic ways, let him go. In the Qinhao continent, the cultivators of the righteous way still have the upper hand, but it seems that we still need to remind the alchemist Gu Yao. I don't think the old demon's interest in the ancient alchemist has weakened, so it is necessary to prevent him from wanting to completely control the ancient alchemist. Tang Xiu also understands the temperament of the old spider. The others nodded in agreement, but fortunately, they didn't even know where Gu Yao was now, and it was not easy for the Sky Spider old demon to find people. The old demon of the Sky Spider is unruly and cannot be reasoned about it. This is a common understanding of everyone, but this time it still surprised everyone. No one expected that the old demon of the Sky Spider would let his subordinates announce it to the public after returning to his lair. Alchemist Gu Yao is the person that the old spider demon likes him. Whoever dares to take action against the alchemist Gu Yao will be unable to get along with the old demon of the spider, and wait to become the food in the belly of the spider. Many monks spit when they heard this. Tianhua also sprayed the tea he just drank, and threw the teacup on the ground in anger. "This old man, dare to rob my nephew? What kind of thing dares to ruin my nephew's reputation? When will my external album be published? Are you in the company of an old demon? Abba! I'm mad at me too. Pavilion Master, what should I do now?" There is talk about the relationship between the ancient alchemist and the old spider demon, and some people are talking about the previous rumors, saying that the ancient alchemist is indeed the poisonous alchemist, who was killed by the old spider. Come on, the reputation of the ancient alchemist will drop a lot. The chief steward of Fenjian Pavilion said anxiously. He could have watched the play, but who made the ancient alchemist a pro-external frequency of his own pavilion master, and the pavilion owner valued it very much. Yinhua was very unwilling, very unconvinced, walked back and forth in the house for several times, and finally stood still and said, "Go, let me know and say that my nephew never knew what the old spider was. How could he be? How dare you put such a big face on yourself? He is shameless and my nephew wants to be ashamed. Go, just say that." The chief steward was stunned for a while, and finally just walked away, thinking about how to choose the words, and convey the meaning of the pavilion master more euphemistically. So on the Kinhao continent, there was a strange scolding in the air. The core character of the scolding was the genius alchemist Guyao, and it was the first time that he knew that this alchemist had an uncle who could be with the old spider. Demons scolded the air. Obviously this uncle is not an ordinary person. Puff dash. Just like his uncle, Guyao gave all the tea he had just drank to the ground, and coughed violently. This time, he didn't retreat, but he made a lot of potion pills. Chi Changjai slapped Guyao on the back and twitched the corners of his mouth. What the heck is going on? How could an old demon say such a good thing? The root cause must be the three monks. I don't know how they negotiated with the old demon of the spider, and finally put Guyao on the fire and roasted it. Chi Changjai said, I'm afraid the old spider demon will be a difficult person to deal with this day, so be careful when you encounter it in the future. I will ask my uncle to inquire about this matter, including this old demon's behavior. Guyao wiped the water from the corner of his mouth. I want to inquire. I hope there will be no twists and turns. He still likes to deal with simple people. How good it is to be straight. It didn't take long for Lu Huijing's message to arrive. He learned the cause of the incident from his ancestor, and he couldn't help worrying about Guyao, so he relayed what the ancestor told him to Guyao, hoping that he would have a judgment. Guyao can't stop seeing the black line. This old demon is really difficult to deal with, and he almost became in their negotiation. He wants to hand me over to Alchemist Wu. In the eyes of such a high-ranking monk, the monks below really are all dwarf ants. He asked himself that he had achieved some success in alchemy. He was not a nameless person, but in the eyes of this old devil, it might not be much different from an object. If it wasn't for the spatial coordinates of Wanluo continent in their hands, it is estimated that it's not going to end well. Chi Changjai's eyes flashed coldly. Just let him taste the same thing in the future, don't rush this time. Now I can't fight the old spider demon, but one day, he will let this old demon taste the taste of being stepped on. Guyao sighed, forget it, now I'm worried that my uncle will be exposed to this old demon, which will be detrimental to my uncle. Chi Changjai twitched the corner of his mouth, always feeling that this uncle made him stunned every time, breaking his original impression. Guyao sent a message to his uncle and was concerned about this matter, so that his uncle should not be annoyed. The words of the old demon of the spider won't affect him. Lu Huijing, Tianfirong, and others met in a restaurant in a city. Listening to the heated discussions of the monks in the restaurant, the four of them were speechless and sweating. They never thought that things would go this way, and they felt out of control. What do you mean by this old spider demon? I've heard that there is no taboo between men and women. Could it be that the teacher and student of Guyadan are so beautiful that the old spider is attracted to him? How did I hear that this ancient alchemist was the legendary poison alchemist before? Otherwise, why would the old demon of the spider come out to protect him? It must be because this ancient alchemist is very important to the old demon of the spider and the way of magic. The teacher is clearly the spy of the devil's way into our righteous way. Ah! My uncle has spoken out. He has never seen the old demon, and how old is this ancient alchemist? How can he be hooked on that poison alchemist? Even if he is not a poison alchemist, he must be inseparable from the poison alchemist. Otherwise, a poison that a 6th grade alchemist can't solve, he can easily solve it with a 7th grade alchemist. To a degree. There is also going to be a scolding battle in the restaurant. The monks who disagree with each other will fight each other. There are also monks who have been doing all kinds of bad deeds in the past of the old spider for several days. What kind of turbulence is going to be caused, even if alchemist Guyao has nothing to do with him, but now that he is staring at him, can he really escape? Another cultivator guessed that alchemist Guyao's appearance must be very handsome, otherwise it would be in the eyes of the old spider. Don't talk nonsense. I heard that there is a thunder sword cultivator next to the alchemist Guyao. They have long been Taoist companions, and they have always been inseparable. It is nonsense to say that alchemist Guyao is a person in the devil's way. There will be a thunder sword cultivator by the side of the people of the demon Dao. Yeah, the one who killed the Tailoo sect evil Xiu Difeng in the vicinity of Beihe City was not this thunder sword cultivator. Difeng is so powerful, is it still being killed by this thunder sword cultivator? No, they are really Taoist companions. Of course, they came from other continents together, and they have a deep relationship with each other. Don't forget about the shape. If you are encountered by this thunder sword cultivator, he will be better than the sky spider if you don't see him. How good is the old devil's temper? Aha, we didn't say anything, you said yes. Tianfirong shook his head and walked back to his position, asking the restaurant staff to serve a few more jars of spirit wine and invite those monks to drink. The little fat man gave him a voice transmission. How did you think of talking about these things? Did Brother Chi tell you something? Tianfirong raised his eyebrows. Don't you know everything, you still need me to explain it? Really, it's no wonder Uncle Guyao and Brother Chi are going to be angry. Listen to what they said just now. What do you think of Guyao? Humans. It's not the poison alchemist or the kind of Israeli servants. If I have the ability, I have to beat up that old demon so that his parents can't recognize it. Lu Huajing and Ying Muking also heard the above voice transmission, and they were dumbfounded. They didn't expect that Chi Changjai would be such a character, and would spread the news that he and Guyao had formed a Taoist partner through Tianfirong's mouth, especially Lu Huajing. The image of Gao Leng Jiangziu in the impression is shaking. The monks were very curious about the identity of Uncle Guyao, who was scolding the old spider in the air, and wanted to know who the competition was, and who could not be afraid of the fierce name of the old spider. To a certain extent, Guyao's reputation crisis has been alleviated. Not to mention that the monks outside were curious about the identity of the uncle, but the old demon of the spider heard the report from his subordinates. Not only was he not angry, but he was full of interest. He asked his subordinates to quickly check the origin of Guyao's uncle, and he had to find this man. Come out and see in front of him, is this mouth still so sharp? Ancestor, Alchemist Wu is here. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 274. The sky spider old demon put his foot on the armrest of the bone chair, and lay lazily there. He squinted to see the thin old man, Wu Chongyang, who rushed in angrily. He felt that his face was really hot. Thinking about that little alchemist has one more merit than this old man Wu. Alchemist Wu walked in and asked, Old demon, why did you say that? And I heard that you went to see those guys named Tang. What do you want to do? Don't forget what we said at the beginning. What do you think now? Get off the boat alone? I said that I only need that kid surnamed the Ancients, and everything else can make concessions to you. In the corner of the hall, there was a rustling, and the celestial spider, who was always with the old demon, crawled out, and the 8 eyes on his head stared at Alchemist Wu, and he also had a feeling of numbness in his scalp. The old demon of the sky spider touched the paw stretched out by the sky spider, and was not at all different from the old man Wu's anger. Who made you so useless? Tell me how long it has been given to you, and now what is coming out? I got a poison, but I didn't expect it to be easily solved by a 7th grade alchemist, so my old devil wants to change his partner. What can you do to me? Alchemist Wu was very angry. Are you trying to get rid of it in one shot? Or do you want the fish to die? I won't get any benefit from Wu. Do you think those guys outside are sincerely cooperating with you? The sky spider old demon changed from a lying position to a sitting position, with a look of disdain in his eyes. What about you? You so-called righteous person, what purpose did you have to discuss cooperation with the old demon and me? And the couple from the Huo family? Father and son? Hey, do you think the old devil I care about what you think? Only you people of the righteous way will regard reputation as more important than anything else. Head, What kind of reputation do I want? You. Alchemist Wu didn't expect that the sky spider old demon would turn his face when he turned his face, and there was nothing to hold him back. When a person doesn't even care about his reputation, what can restrain him? Alchemist Wu took a deep breath, and this matter has to be considered in the long run. Okay, I've misunderstood old demon's heart, so let's do it. No matter what you ask, I just want the guy with the surname Gu. Haha. The old demon of the sky spider laughed loudly, because the pale face of this smile was more bloody, but it also looked more strange. It's too late, unfortunately, old demon, I have set my sights on that little alchemist now, old man. Devil, I think that little thing is much cuter than you, old man. Give it to you. I will give it to you when the old devil is covered. You, old demon, think about it first. Wu Mao will leave first. Alchemist Wu suppressed his anger and wanted to withdraw first and find another way. Go outside. Heh, a deep laughter came from behind. I said, can I let you go? You dare. Suddenly, the door of the main hall was closed, and a large net with a stench came from above. Alchemist Wu looked back, and the old demon of the spider was slashing at him with the huge ghost-headed sword. Come over. No, you cannot. The subordinates of the sky spider old demon watched the alchemist Wu enter the hall, but they never saw him come out of the hall again. Each and every one of the demon cultivators became more and more in awe of the sky spider old demon, and could not give birth to a single bit of disapproval. When the celestial spider appeared, the subordinates found that the color of the back of the celestial spider became more and more flawless, and the celestial spider seemed to be in a very good mood, like a delicious meal. Many people secretly glanced at the belly of the sky spider and ran away quickly. Most of the guys who made the ancestors unhappy in the past entered the belly of the sky spider. Changxianmen. A cultivator stumbled to report, Sect Master, it's not good, Alchemist Wu he. Sect Master Huo is worried, the situation outside is getting more and more unfavorable for Changxian sect, and the guy surnamed Lu actually escaped with fake death. When he learned that the guy surnamed Lu was still alive, he looked back and thought. When Nalu's family threatened him, they found that those people had been transferred out without knowing it, and they didn't even know where they were transferred. It's no wonder that it was ignored. At first, after getting rid of this unsightly guy, the Lu family was no longer taken seriously. There was no Yuanying monk guarding Lu patriarch, and Lu Huajing, a potential junior, was lost. Lu family, what would happen? The Huo sect couldn't be more clear. Sooner or later, he would be eaten alive by the other Changxianmen disciples who were coveting them, so he didn't pay attention or interfere, just let the Lu family disappear into the Changxianmen, who would bring it up in the future. Can't blame him. After discovering that he had been deceived, Sect Master Huo hated him, but even the cultivator who made small moves with the soul card was nowhere to be seen. It goes without saying that he was also transferred out by the surnamed Lu, so now the monk guarding the soul card is his confidant, and now seeing the confidant's appearance, he said angrily, what's the matter? Does anyone else die and the soul card shattered? Is it still a witch alchemist? The cultivator who came to report was startled, stammered, and slammed, did the sect master already know? Alchemist Wu's soul card suddenly and well shattered, please take a look at it. In order to prevent the head from not believing, he specially brought the broken soul card over. The head of Huo was about to burst with a hum sound, his eyes were about to split. It was really Wukong Guiyang's soul card. How is it possible? How could Alchemist Wu die? Impossible. Sect Master, two elders came in and questioned, Junior brother Lu is not dead, but he said that he had to escape to get rid of the Sect Master's pursuit. Is this the case with Sect Master? Another elder was stunned when he saw the broken soul card, who died again. The disciple holding the soul card trembled and said, yes, it's Alchemist Wu asterisk. What? Is that Wu Lao? The two elders frowned at the same time and looked at the soul card, and then looked at Sect Master Huo. Sect Master, What is going on here? Can sect master clearly tell us? Alchemist Wu has always been very close to the sect master. Although Alchemist Wu is very famous, after all, a 6th grade high-level alchemist is something to be proud of no matter which sect he belongs to. However, it is difficult for a cultivator of the same sect to see Alchemist Wu, so he wants to ask him to make a furnace dan. It costs a lot more, and it is often the hands of Huo section. They haven't seen Alchemist Wu for a long time, and now they are dead. Sect Master Huo wasn't sure how Alchemist Wu died, and even among the many doubts that flashed in his mind, there was one, that Wu Chongyang killed himself by himself. It's not impossible, he knew better than anyone how crazy the surnamed Wu was. But he couldn't say these things, and in the end there was only one result, so he said, what else could happen? He was killed by a demon cultivator, and it was the old spider demon that day. If the order goes on, our Changxianmen and the demons will never die. The two elders were dubious, and before leaving, they asked, what's the matter with junior brother Lu? Sect Master Huo could only refuse to admit it. Junior brother Lu was deceived by the old devil of the spider. Do the two elders believe this statement? They don't believe a word, and even there is a saying outside that the witch alchemist is actually the poison alchemist. They are also very skeptical, but what can we do now? If you want Changxianmen not to be destroyed, you can only grit your teeth and go down. Come out. A sharp-eyed cultivator walked out from behind the door. It was Yan Yuanjing, who had successfully passed through Tianying and successfully condensed the infant. He stood in front of the sect master with no expression. The disciple had seen the sect master. What did the sect master tell him? Sect master Huo looked at Yan Yuanjing displeasedly, and said, now you already know that Qi Changjai and Guyao have come to us to do something wrong. If one day Changxian sect will be destroyed by the sect. Yan Yuanjing, you are the culprit. Now I'll give you a chance to atone for your sins. Go find these two people, and bring me the one called Guyao. Yes, sect master. The disciples obey. Yan Yuanjing turned around and walked out after receiving the order. Wu is dead. Tang Xiu and others couldn't believe their ears when they heard the news. That's right, it's the news from the old demon of the spider, saying it's a great gift for us. Leader Meng said helplessly. They couldn't keep up with this guy's brain circuit at all, and they didn't know what he would do next time. Come. They wanted to find out Alchemist Wu, but they didn't know where he was hiding, and even if they found others, it would be difficult to catch them without harming their soldiers. They and outsiders were half-doubted about those rumors. The difference is that they know that the poison alchemist is Wu Chongyang himself, including the fact that he refined himself into a poisonous body, so this guy is very tricky. But now this person will die when he says he will die, which makes people wonder if he is cheating, just like the old ancestor Lu died before. But there is no need for this guy to lie about this matter, because he can absolutely not go. Do. This old thing is really ruthless. If you say that you will kill people, you will kill people. Yin Patriarch said lightly. Bai Jing is a 6th grade high-level alchemist, and they may not be willing to kill people if they are placed on them. A 6th grade high-level alchemist can still play a big role, which is why this guy, the Sky Spider old demon, makes people dread. But Alchemist Wu has already been resolved, so we can close the net quickly, said Tang Cultivator. Several people glanced at each other and nodded in agreement. The rest of the pot had to be carried by Sect Master Huo, and they didn't wrong the Sect Master at all. They used to turn a blind eye and let it go, but now they also taste it. When it came to the bad results, the things that Huo sect and Alchemist Wu did in private made them unable to watch. The three bosses turned back from the Sea of Ghosts, and orders were sent out from their hands. The news of Alchemist Wu's death has not yet spread. The smoke of the war between the old demon of the spider and Uncle Guyao has not dissipated, and everyone is still talking about it. The monks on Qinhao continent were shocked. It was jointly announced by the three leaders of Tang Monk Meng and the Silver Patriarch that the previously rumored poison elixir existed, and it was the Wudan master Wu Chongyang himself. trying to make a breakthrough, but in the process of researching the poison pill, his will was affected, he fell into the devil's way, and committed one after another sin against the heaven's way. The reason why the mainland cultivator has not noticed is because there is someone behind Wu Chongyang to cover up for him, that is the Huo sect of Changxian sect, so the Huo sect and alchemist Wu must pay the price for the catastrophe that occurred on Qinhao continent. Many people couldn't believe it, but for a while, all kinds of claims were raging, which further confirmed that what they said was true. Wu Chongyang, Huo sect, and even Changxian sect became characters that everyone shouted and beat. Even the magic cultivators came out and said that they were actually innocent and scapegoats pushed by the old thief Huo. Those monsters had nothing to do with the magic cultivators. The mainland has achieved the goal of dominating the mainland, saying that their demons are evil demons and crooked ways. In fact, the old thief Huo and the old thief Wu are the real heinous monsters. When the monk of the right way heard these words, he just wanted to reply with the word he. He didn't believe it, he didn't believe it at all. There are still demons in this world shouting that the righteous path is the devil's business. It's a big joke. If these devils were innocent, they could poke their eyes out. For some unknown reason, Brother Tang and Alliance leader Meng, their eyes twitched when they heard these words outside, and they always felt that the old demon of the spider was going to make trouble again. With such a big movement outside, even Gu Yao and Qi Changjai couldn't stay, and walked out of the retreat. Yin Hua was not satisfied, looked at Qi Changjai critically and said, "I thought you could break through the Yuan Ying level by retreating this time. Haven't all the surnamed Yan from Changxianmen advanced to Yuan Ying, your 10-year appointment? Can you beat him?" Qi Changjai can only hold his chest and say, "Uncle, I will do my best." Yin Hua pulled his nephew, "Look at Xiaoao, he is much younger than you, and now he is in the late stage of Jindan, and he is not far from breaking through nascent soul. If you don't hurry up, you will be left behind by Xiaoao sooner or later." Gu Yao twitched his lips, wanting to refute his uncle. With Qi Changjai's talent, how could he surpass the past? Even now, he is relying on medicinal pills and his own medicinal techniques to improve his cultivation to this level. Talent, being able to build a foundation is a good thing asterisk. Although he has a top quality pill, Qi Changjai didn't take many pills. Who wouldn't praise such a speed of cultivation? Uncle was also picky. Gu Yao had to look at Qi Changjai with apologetic eyes, and once again felt that he was the sandwich biscuit, and it was difficult to coax both ends. Now that he wants to speak for Qi Changjai, Uncle will definitely put on a sad expression of "I don't want to stay with my child. Uncle, I'm not that fast." Yin Hua didn't care, he waved his hand and said, "Forget it, knowing that keeping you in seclusion for a long time will not have any effect, then go out with me and see what the old poisonous spider wants to do this time." "Old poisonous spider," Gu Yao repeated curiously. "It's not that old bastard, the old demon of the spider," Yin Hua said indifferently, although the old demon of the spider clarified some rumors for his nephew, that is to say, the real identity of the poison alchemist is that old wooer, but this does not mean that Yin Hua's anger has disappeared. He has not forgotten that this old poisonous spider actually looked at his nephew. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 275. After the old demon of the spider reappeared on Qinhao continent, according to the agreement between him and the three-party monks such as Tang Xiu, he gathered the forces of the Devil's Way, and finally settled their territory between Changxianmen and the Sea of Ghosts. The Sky Spider old demon has not established any sect, but there are some followers, and there are also many factions within the Magic Way. The cultivation methods have their own strengths and various styles, but it is generally recognized inside and outside the Magic Way that the Sky Spider old demon is the first of the Magic Way. One person, the inside of the demon Dao, advocates the strong food of the weak more than the cultivators of the right Dao. Before no one defeats the old Sky Spider demon, what he said is the decree of the law. Therefore, the old demon of the spider can't leave the demon Deo territory without permission and provoke disputes with the righteous monks. The various forces and demons below have to be honest and obedient. Dare not to listen? Just wait for a meal for the sky spider. Of course, the cultivators of the right way broke into their territory. It is up to the cultivators of the right way to be responsible for life or death, and the old demon of the sky spider will never ask. When the old spider demon divided the site that day, Tang Xiu, Meng Alliance leader and others understood his thoughts. On the surface, this old demon seemed to be unruly, but in fact he was more shrewd than anyone else. Chang Xianmen has eaten a large piece of meat, and also knows that the righteous way will abandon the Chang Xianmen. When the Chang Xianmen falls apart, the monks of the magic path will definitely come out of their nests and grab a large piece of rich water treasure first. The choice of the old demon of the spider, the silver patriarch, feels very good. The farther away from the demon cultivator, the better. He doesn't want to live next to the demon cultivator, and he can't sleep well. Leader Meng has no objection. The purpose of the establishment of the business alliance is to do all the business in the mainland. In the future, the business of these magic cultivators will also be done. The sooner the magic cultivator forces stabilize, the more conducive to the development of business alliance business. As for the forces of the righteous path, they can only tacitly push out Chang Xianmen to protect their own interests to the greatest extent. On this day, many monks were invited by the old demon of the spider to go to the border between the real and the devil, saying that they wanted to show them a good show. Yin Hua also took Gu Yao and Qi Changjai over, along with Tian Firong and Lu Huajing, as well as the Yuanying monk who accompanied Yin Hua to protect Yin Hua. Most of the medicinal pills that Gu Yao had refined before were handed over to his uncle, and everyone around Yin Hua enjoyed it, so at this time the eyes that looked at Gu Yao were very kind. Yin Hua was Gu Yao's uncle, and of course they were also Gu Yao's elders. I think the ancient alchemist is about to enter the ranks of 6th grade alchemists. Those rumors outside still underestimate the strength of the ancient alchemist. The ancient alchemist should strive to cross the threshold of the 6th grade alchemist as soon as possible. Everyone is still very optimistic about him, because the pills he took out were enough to show that the 7th grade pills were not difficult for him. How can this kind of alchemy be simply described by the word genius? Yin Hua, who still appeared in front of people in the image of an elder, waved his hand and said, "Don't just praise him, this kid still needs a lot of hard work. You see, he is only a 7th rank alchemist now, and he has cultivated in the later stage of Jindan. When he breaks through to nascent soul and becomes a 6th grade alchemist, you can praise him again." Looking at the smiles on his face, the other people have only one thought in their minds, that is, they want to rub his smiling face on the ground. Is he being humble? Is this really humility rather than bragging rights? Go back and urge your juniors. Even if you can't compare to Gu Yao alchemist, you can't be too far behind, otherwise you can't talk about your own juniors when you come out and talk to each other. It's a shame. When Tian Firong saw this, the expressions on their faces were a little weird. Yin Hua had savagely overwhelmed the elders along the way, and his party rushed to the area where the two sides of the righteous path meet now. They stayed in mid-air, and there was an open and flat land below. There was almost no vegetation cover, and many places were stained with dark red. On the way here, I heard that Chang Xianmen fought against the magic way, and sprinkled blood on it. There are not only Chang Xianmen disciples on this land, but also magic monks. Lu Huajing and Ying Muking looked at the situation below with very complicated feelings. Chang Xianmen was their section. Their behavior was almost equivalent to betraying the sect and died at the hands of the monks. They believed that most of them were innocents. Unbeknownst to them, perhaps they didn't know why Zongmen sent them to the battlefield until they died, thinking that they were eliminating demons and defending the road. On both sides of the junction area, a large number of demon cultivators gathered on one side, and the demonic energy seemed to be fierce, and the other side was a large number of disciples from the Immortal section. Don't act against the devil, let the devil act arrogantly. The two of them also saw many familiar faces in these disciples, so they couldn't help but withdraw their eyes and looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Even Yang Muking didn't want Changxian sect to end like this. But they were unable to turn the tide. Look, that's Senior Tang coming. With Senior Tang is the ancestor Lu, the ancestor of Changxianmen. He really didn't die. Could it be that he was really chased by the Huo sect to escape? The arrival of Monk Tang and Lu ancestors caused heated discussions. The disciples of Changxianmen saw the two of them, especially Lu ancestors. Many people showed confusion. To be honest, Lu ancestors had a bad reputation in Changxianmen. It's a bad thing. At the beginning, Lu Huajing was also the favored son of Changxianmen, which made many disciples yearn for worship. However, now Lu Huajing's whereabouts are unknown. After Lu's ancestor died, he betrayed the sect, which made many disciples feel unacceptable for a while. It's really old ancestor Lu, why is that? Is it really that the head of the family wants to be detrimental to old ancestor Lu? You have forgotten the situation of senior brother Lu in the door. He is often targeted by the young doormaster. Ancestor Lu is most interested in the younger generation of senior brother Lu. If something happens to senior brother Lu, what do you think old ancestor Lu will do? Some disciples didn't think Lu Patriarch would betray the sect for no reason, and spontaneously searched for the reason for him. It was easy to fall into the original conflict between Lu Huajing and Huo Ming. No, it should not be said to be a contradiction. It has always been Huo Mingden. The aspect is aimed at embarrassing Lu Huajing. If Lu Huajing did something wrong because of Huo Ming, would sect leader Huo punish Huo Ming? Most of the disciples denied it without even thinking about it, otherwise Huo Ming would not have been arrogant to his current virtue, so Lu was forced to act like this. It's all damned Huo Ming. Many young disciples in the sect fell under his claws. With his virtue, he still thinks of the young city owner of Beihe City. He relied on the sect master to support him, and even the elders in the sect dared to ignore it. If he indulges like this, the disciples in the sect will leave sooner or later. Hard. Because of Patriarch Lu's appearance, many disciples of Changxianmen criticized Huo Ming, thinking that if Changxianmen suffered this, Huo Zhangmen and Feng Ming should bear most of the responsibility. When the elders who came from Changxianmen saw the appearance of Lu ancestor, their mood was extremely complicated. Lu ancestor really didn't die, so what about his junior Lu Huajing? Could it be that he really followed Huo Ming's calculations? Wow, that's the Meng Alliance leader of the Business Alliance. The one who is with Meng Alliance leader is Senior Zhang, the Taoist companion of City Lord Lu. Is the beautiful fairy next to Senior Zhang the City Lord Lu Xiao? It's no wonder that Huo Ming is always thinking about such a stunning beauty, but Huo Ming is indeed not worthy of the young city master. In addition to the disciples of Changxianmen, other disciples of other sect forces rushed over, wanting to have a quick glimpse. Now seeing these big men who are rarely seen on weekdays, I feel that this trip is worthwhile. When the patriarch of the Silver Wolf clan arrives, he will even it caused quite a bit of commotion. It was true that the top cultivators from the Qinhao continent came here. It seems that something really happened today. Lu Yu knew that the father and son of the Feng family were going to be unlucky, so she specially followed her father to watch the play. Seeing others pointing at her, she didn't think it was different, and she asked her father through a voice transmission, "Father, do you say Gu alchemist? Will you and Daiochi come here?" She didn't have many friends. Back then, she got along very well with Gu Yao and the others in Beihe City. Since they left, apart from some rumors about Lu Chuan, she hasn't seen each other again, so she still misses it a lot, but again I was worried that if they came to this kind of occasion, it would be dangerous and that someone would act against them. Zhang Qianfeng swept around the cultivators who were standing in mid-air, shook his head and said, "It's hard to say, their disguise skills are very good. Can you recognize the alchemist Lu who pretended to be the last time?" Lu Yu thought of the slightly fat alchemist with a bun face she had seen in the video, and couldn't help but want to laugh. If it wasn't for her father's repeated affirmation that this was the alchemist Gu Yao, she would not have believed it. Father is right, alchemist Gu and fellow deist Kai's disguise technique is really brilliant, blinding everyone's eyes. Not only the Silver Patriarch came over from the demon cultivator, but there were also several demon cultivators, and the aura exuded made those cultivators with weaker cultivation bases dare not approach. Gu Yao looked over, only to see Hu Mei at a glance, and quickly gave Qi Changjai a wink. The two of them should avoid it. He didn't have the confidence to hide from Hu Mei's eyes. Much smarter than before. Hu Mei enjoys such a lively scene. As soon as she arrives here, she looks around and becomes curious. She must know that her eldest brother and her clan usually do not allow her to leave the demon cultivator's site, and her appearance has attracted many male cultivators to be amazed. Eyes, this is a stunning woman who is completely different from City Lord Lu Xiao. Brother Hu reminded him, be calm, don't run around by yourself, or let those people repair you and strip you of the fox skin, don't come back to me and cry. Is there a big brother who curses your sister like this? This is not the first time I have come out. I am curious. By the way, big brother, do you think Gu Yao alchemist will come too? I still want to find him to make more pots of elixir. The last time he said hello and ran away without a fight, but it hurt me. Hu Mei complained. Brother Hu reached out and knocked on his head. What does this have to do with the ancient alchemist? It's not caused by your own greed for money, so stop daydreaming. The ancient alchemist should not come to such a place. Even if he does, do you think if you planted it once, can you plant it a second time in your hands? That's not necessarily. Hu Mei was very confident in her ability. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 276. After waiting for a while, the head of Changxian sect finally appeared. Not only did sect master Huo come in person, but he was also accompanied by several nascent soul cultivators, as well as 2 rows of neat, solemn, and well-equipped Jindan cultivators. At first glance, these Jindan cultivators were trained to be good at fighting together, and they really showed their combat effectiveness. No one can tell, just like when the 4 of Gu Yao cooperated with the 4 elephants to kill the formation, they can also grind to death the monsters in the early nascent soul. Huo Zhangman's face was extremely ugly. Do you all want to join forces to kill my Changxianmen today? Otherwise, would you allow the devil to invade my Changxianmen and falsely kill my disciples? It's my Changxianmen, it's me. Mr. Huo misunderstood everyone present. If my Changxian sect is unpredictable, everyone present is the sinner of the wronged souls of countless disciples of my Changxian sect. His voice echoed in the sky above, and there seemed to be a rumble of thunder in the sky, which made many monks' face sinking. The surnamed Huo was to drag all their righteous monks into the water and let them carry such peppers on their backs. If this matter is not resolved well, will it not leave a shadow in the hearts of many cultivators of the righteous path and affect future cultivation? This old thing is driven to a dead end, and wants to strike first. Pay Papa. The applause sounded from far to near, and everyone looked up at the same time. Presumably this is another protagonist who is about to appear today. Sure enough, the old demon of the sky spider stepped on the sky spider and came from the sky. It seemed to move slowly, but it had the effect of being close to the horizon, quickly shortening the distance between them, and wearing a dark red robe that matched the color of the spider's back that day. It made the pale complexion a little more bloody, and the wind blew up the large robes and made a hunting sound, and the robes fluttered in the wind, making its owner even more wild. The atmosphere just created by Sect Master Feng was instantly broken by the person who appeared on the stage. Sect Master Huo looked at the sky spider old demon as if it had been poisoned, and wished he could be slashed by 1,000 swords. Haha, as expected of the head of the Changxian sect. Well said, well said. Do you know what the old devil I admire most about you people of the righteous path? That's the work of the mouth, saying the black is white. Yes, turn the dead into the living. Your head Huo is an innocent and good person, the surname is Huo. It is not a loss for you to say this. Do you dare to say a sentence in front of these righteous monks? Are you surnamed Huo the right way? After speaking, people are already in front of him, and there are also many monks of the devil, but from the perspective of neatness, it is really not as good as the Changxianmen of the right way. One of them is shirtless, and his stature is comparable to others. At first glance, the muscles of the body are full of explosive power, and when you stand there, it will give you a feeling of oppression. There is another person, who is as thin as a bamboo pole, but next to him is a strange beast swallowing clouds. The beast's eyes flashed fiercely. There is also a person with a smiling face, smiling like Maitreya Buddha, but surrounded by a circle of corpse puppets. The strength of each corpse puppet is not inferior to nascent soul. If it is not for this corpse puppet, no one would think this guy is the ruthless devil, but today is to strengthen the prestige of the devil, so all of them are revealed. There is another person wrapped in the rolling black clouds, and that face is also hidden from time to time. Guyao saw it, and it was the one who smiled like Maitreya Buddha. He subconsciously kept some distance from the monk wrapped in black mist, obviously a little jealous of him. I have to admit that the painting style of the magic monks is too far from the right way, and it is not very comfortable for people to see. It is no wonder that the reputation of the magic way has always been extremely bad. Got to feel hot eyes. In contrast, the painting style of the sky spider old demon is more serious, not showing too abrupt side, and his appearance is not bad, but also has a little evil spirit, plus a little unruly. Maybe it can attract some monks, especially women. Shiu's eyes. This is the first time Guyao has seen the old spider, and he has heard a lot about the old demon from his uncle before, so even if his painting style is more normal than other demons at the moment, Guyao is not at all. Dare to underestimate it. It is obvious that all the devils with abrupt style of painting are honestly following him. The words of the old demon of the spider made many monks cast a strange look at Huo's section. All the rumors outside made it seem that the Changxianman was not so innocent, only the poison alchemist was the witch alchemist of the Changxianman. 1 point, can Changxian sect and this Huo sect clear their innocence? Huh, Huo sect master hummed angrily, why do you need your demonic way to put your finger on my righteous path, my colleagues? Do we just rely on the devil to interfere in our righteous path? Where does this place my righteous path? An elder of Taluiman sighed and said, Master Huo, I wonder if the news of the death of the alchemist is true. Could the poison alchemist who harmed many monks be the alchemist? Another nascent soul cultivator asked, where do the monsters that appear on the mainland come from? What is the relationship with your Changxian sect? Some people say that some monsters themselves are loose cultivators on the mainland, but they are being controlled by some forces. Is it true that they were caught and subjected to various inhuman shavings on them, causing them to lose their minds and become monsters that are neither human nor ghosts? Making things out of nothing. Framing and slandering. These are all conspiracies of the devil's way. The way of the devil's way is not to split my righteous path first, and then break it down. My Changxianman is the first breakthrough they targeted. I have no regrets in my death. I'm afraid that there will be no more peaceful days from the righteous path, Huo sect master said angrily. Seeing sect master Huo refuting the questions one by one, Guyao glanced at the old spider demon that day, and saw the old sitting on the ground with his sleeves looking like he was watching a play, as if he was saying, look, it really is, no one can match the effort of this mouth, so please enjoy the performance of Huo sect in peace. Guyao felt that the old demon of the spider should be well prepared to send out this gathering, so he was not in a hurry at this moment, and let sect master Huo use his skills to fight with each other, but no matter how high the stage is, just give him a fatal blow, even if it is a 1,000-story tower, will instantly. Friend 5. Then he turned to look at Sect Master Huo. Guyao admitted that the Sect Master's appearance skills are definitely not bad, he looks like a gentleman. Yiling ran, but thinking of the various activities of Chang Xianmen, Guyao deeply understood the connotation of the word morality. What did you say the old demon of the spider has prepared? Guyao secretly asked Qi Changjai. Qi Changjai rubbed his chin and glanced at the old demon of the spider, and said, "Today the scene always makes me feel abnormal. The old demon of the sky must be holding the little life of the surnamed Feng in his hand, and it is impossible for the surnamed Huo to not know, so the way he's acting now is, well, a little flamboyant." Hearing what Qi Changjai said, Guyao couldn't help but look at Sect Master Huo again. Daijia of other sects and the cultivators of nascent soul who were present estimated that regardless, the disciples of Changxian sect were all aroused, one by one. Showing a look of indignation, as long as the head gives an order, they will swear to fight the devil to the end. Maybe in their opinion, there is something lacking in the head, but the heart of maintaining the right position is never wrong, and the thief must not be allowed to be arrogant. They even looked at other Right Path Alliance with anger in their eyes, feeling that they had betrayed the Right Path Alliance, leaving Chang Xianmen in a situation of isolation and helplessness, leaving them alone to fight. The people who have the same doubts as Qi Changjai are cultivators Tang. They also secretly beat Sect Master Mao, and they don't know how he will get through this. In their opinion, the best way was to abandon the pawns and protect the car. If the other elders in the sect had the confidence, they would push Sect Master Fu and push everything to Sect Master Huo. It is impossible to sit and watch Chang Xianmen completely annihilate, so that at least half of the disciples can be saved in the end. But the current development is a little different from what they thought, so what trick is Huo's Sect Master playing? And what are these elders of Chang Xianmen doing? Don't they really know what the surnamed Huo did? Let him lead Chang Xianmen to the end. Yin Hua was also looking at the head of Huo carefully, his eyes flashed with interest. He thought, what he had guessed. Pei Papa. The sky spider old demon was probably tired of hearing it, so he clapped his hands again. That's right, it's very well said. In the end, he's the head of the sect, and it seems that you have inspired your disciples so much that you can't wait to tear up the old demon. It's a pity. How can you disciples be able to tolerate my old demon together? It's so arrogant, it makes one's teeth itch with hatred. The more you look at me like this, the more excited I get. The surname is Huo. You and I are familiar with each other. After all, we have cooperated so much. For a long time, do you want to say that it is my magic way to frame and slander? Then let me show you the evidence. It was given to you by your precious son. Oh! The old demon of the spider gave a wink to the back, and immediately a demon cultivator flew forward. With a wave of his hand, a piece of sky appeared in the sky. With another wave, a picture appeared in the sky. When the scene in the painting was clearly seen, many cultivators fell. He took a breath, because there was a person hanging in the painting, and that person was Huo Ming, the son of Huo sect. Old demon, if you have the ability, you rush to the sect master. What are you doing with Ming Er? You just want to threaten me. Huo sect master shuddered. The old devil deceives people too much. The disciple of Chang Xianmen also shouted angrily, no matter how unbearable Feng Ming is, he cannot be allowed to fall into the hands of the devil. However, the old demon of the spider turned a deaf ear, and the scene in the sky was not static. That Feng Ming seemed to have seen a terrible scene, and the ghost screamed, let me go, my father is Huo Zhangman. You forget my father is. Are you the head of Chang Xianmen? Are you not afraid that my father will find me when you arrest me? Don't you have many places to rely on my father? As long as you let me go, I promise to let my father agree to a few more requests from you. You can do whatever you want. The disciple of Chang Xianmen exploded with a hum. What does this mean? What is the devil's way to rely on his father Huo? What does it mean to ask his father to agree to a few more requests and do whatever he wants? Anything will do, another voice came from the sky, needless to say it was from the sky spider old demon. Yes, yes, Huoming nodded hastily, ancestor, didn't my father an alchemist Wu help my ancestor a lot? Without my father letting those monsters out, where would the magic path have its present beauty? Etc. My father became the first person on this continent, patriarch, you can do whatever you want. Monster? Who made the monster? Huoming answered any questions, it's alchemist Wu, and there are others. Don't you know about the ancestors? Those loose cultivators don't have any prospects anyway. What's the matter of a few loose cultivators who die? Just a loose repair. Oh, by the way, I remembered, the named Lu who was pressing me all over the place also let me sneak over. I really want to see what the he has become, haha, I thought there was an ancestor of Yuan Ying. It's amazing, and I don't even think about whose territory Changxian sect is, just because he is worthy of fighting with me Huoming. Putting it here, the sky spider old demon waved his sleeves, and the sky curtain disappeared. He smiled at Sect Master Huo. How does Sect Master Huo appreciate it? I also brought the young Sect Master perfectly. The old demon of the sky spider patted the sky spider on his body, and saw the sky spider spit out a mass of spider silk. The spider silk was actually moving, and he saw that the spider silk was partly scattered, revealing a head, and a panicked cry sounded, "Dad, save me, Daddy, save me, it was the old spider demon who caught me, Daddy, I don't want to be swallowed by the spider." It's Huoming, it's really Huoming. Are those words true just now? Senior brother Lu was really plotted by him. So what has senior brother Lu become now? Wu alchemist is a poison alchemist, what are the head and the devil doing? The scattered cultivators who came together because of the excitement to watch even exploded. What does it mean for a few scattered cultivators to die? Thinking of so many monsters, each one may represent the life of a loose cultivator, they can't wait to tear up the surnamed Huo. Is this what Changxianmen and the so-called righteous way do? How much better are they than the magic way? But it's even more hateful to wear a coat. One by one, they shouted and asked Changxianmen to explain to the loose cultivators. Where did the missing loose cultivators go? Without the command of cultivator Tang, several nascent soul cultivators were divided into several positions, and the Huo sect was besieged in the middle. The reason why he did not act immediately was to see how he explained. If there is something wrong, then I am sorry, only get rid of him first. After hearing Huoming's words, these cultivators couldn't help but think, what exactly does the surnamed Feng want to do? Want to be the first person in Qinhao continent? So what will happen to these monks and other sects? Will those who obey me prosper or those who oppose me perish? The elder of Tailuimen asked coldly, Sect Master Huo, what else do you have to defend? I was curious at the beginning, where did the wicked disciple Difeng learn the wicked way, and should I ask Huo now? Sect leader, how many people have you placed in the various schools and factions on the mainland? Guyao immediately remembered one thing. After Difeng died, there was news that Difeng was too arrogant, and a descendant of an elder of Tai Luimen died in his hands. He could not find the murderer anywhere, or Dishenet was only revealed after death. Could it be that this elder is the one now? Master Huo, what else do you have to say? I didn't expect that the person who shouted to kill the devil would be the one who colluded with the devil the most. How is this possible? How can the head of the sect be such a person? Did the devil force Huoming to do this? Some disciples from the Immortal sect cried out in disbelief. They all knew what Huoming was, but they didn't. Possibly a hard bone. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 277. The disciples of Changxian sect simply couldn't accept what they saw and heard. How could the sect master be such a person? Speaking of those monsters, even in Changxianmen, many disciples died in the mouths of monsters, and now tell them that these monsters were created by the head and the alchemist. Ha ha. Sect Master Huo suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. The laughter shocked the disciples, who were slightly weaker and closer, and they were extremely uncomfortable. What do you want Sect Master Ben to say? Demons colluded together? But what are you who are in the company of demons now? The laughter stopped suddenly, and Sect Master Huo stared at the nascent soul cultivators gloomily. In this world, it's not about whose strength and tyranny. When I'm standing on the top of the mainland, you will still use this to communicate. Forced by me? The old demon of the spider made you cultivators sit down and talk happily. Why? It's not because of his tyrannical strength. In the end, you are afraid of him. When Huoshu has the same or even better strong power, do you dare to disrespect me? I, Huoshu, just did what you dare not do. Without the convenience you gave me, Huoshu, could I do what I am doing now? Remember, I will come back one day, Ming-er, as a father, I will be there for you. You're taking revenge. No, be careful. The nascent soul cultivator who surrounded Huoshu shuddered in his heart and immediately retreated. However, he still felt that it was a little late. He saw the four nascent soul elders from Changxianmen who had been staying beside Huoshu, with painful and twisted faces on their faces. The next moment, their bodies exploded, including Huoshu's body in the middle. Several of the most powerful nascent soul masters present, Monk Tang, Meng Alliance leader and Yin Patriarch, including the old demon of the spider, also started at this moment. Their figures suddenly appeared around the blasting, and quickly laid down layers of layers. Prohibition: limit the destructive force generated by blasting to the minimum range and avoid excessive losses. What is it that we neglected? How could Huoshu be willing to die? Cultivator Tang asked inexplicably while resisting the blasting force. There is only one possibility. He arranged today's scene a long time ago, just to get out. Maybe it is not his real body that died, and these nascent soul elders are also controlled by him, the sky spider old demon deduced. They are busy imposing restrictions, and the old demon of the spider also has to consider the many demon monks behind him. He can ignore the lives of these demon monks, but in the situation where the righteous path has an absolute advantage, he has to consider saving as much as possible. The strength of the magic way, otherwise the magic way will once again lose the living space they are fighting for now. At this moment, a blood-colored aura suddenly flew from the center of the blast, and quickly fled to the horizon, including the action that the old spider was trying to do, but it was too late. Can't catch up. Just at this moment, another figure swept up, and a spirit formula prepared in his hand was hit, and then the figure fell down again, brushing the Shangzi shirt, as if nothing abrupt was done. Guyao was stunned, and Qi Changjai was also stunned, because this figure was Yin Hua. Although most of the attention was on the blasting in the center, so as not to be affected, there were still many sights who noticed this scene, making their position quickly become the focus. Guyao secretly shouted badly, "Now he is going to be watched, is it too late now?" He hurriedly asked, "Uncle, what did you just do? Is Huoshu really dead?" These two questions are actually things that everyone present wants to figure out. Yin Hua stretched out a finger, squinted and smiled and said, "First, I just stamped that group of things, so that no matter where the thing escapes, I can find him, uncle." He stretched out his second finger and continued, "Second, Huoshu is not dead, the one who just blew himself up and died was not Zai Shu, but a substitute, although I don't know where he got it, but if I didn't judge wrong, he should have used the long-lost puppet avatar on that body, that aura, which swept away the blood and essence of the 5 bodies, so I don't need to introduce it to my uncle." Guyao opened his mouth wide and wanted to block it. Is it really okay to say it so bluntly? He felt one after another cast of eyes, his scalp was about to burst, especially the eyes that seemed to strip him and his uncle from head to toe, making Guyao almost jump up. He guessed that there was only one person whose eyes were so aggressive, and that was the sky spider old demon, and it must have been his uncle who scolded him in the air. He took revenge on it. Chi Changjai wanted to touch his forehead, saying that the old demon of the spider is unruly and unpredictable, but Uncle Huang is not much better than this. Needless to say, Master Uncle deliberately told these words to those nascent soul cultivators. At least the cultivation base was slightly weaker. Yes, there is no way to hear it clearly in such a chaotic scene. This kind of temperament that fears that the world will not be chaotic, how can it be like an elder? Fortunately, Xiaoao did not inherit it. A strange color flashed in the eyes of the old demon of the spider, and there was a strange arc in the corner of his mouth. Xiu Tang and Patriarch Yin took this expression in their eyes, and looked at each other helplessly. Isn't it Guyao's uncle Yin Hua? The young cultivator beside him is Guyao, so carefree. What does Yin Hua want to do? The most terrible thing is that Huo Shu is really not dead. Although they had such a hunch before, but now they have confirmed this from Yin Hua, they still feel that it is not very good. Huo Shu dares to do this. He must have a trump card. It was even harder to deal with when it appeared than it is now. There was a sudden scream in the crowd, and Xiu Tang and the others looked back. No, this old Huo Shu did such a trick before he left. So the monk obeyed the order. Don't panic, organize together to resist the monsters. It's just a dying struggle. Let's all take action together. Be careful that Huo Shu still has his back. The latter words were addressed to the Silver Patriarch, Meng Alliance, and the old demon of the spider. The old demon of the spider licked his lower lip regretfully, and nodded irrevocably, okay. Then, with a wave of his hand, the spider dragged Huo Ming into his mouth and gnawed at it. Huo Ming, who had been abandoned by his father and fell into unbelievable despair, let out a scream, but it didn't take a while. Stopped. Brother Tang and Alliance leader Meng couldn't accuse him of anything. Is it too cruel to accuse him of being a devil? However, they still felt that the old demon was deliberately venting his unhappiness on Huo Ming. Does this mean the son pays the father's anger? Guyao didn't see the picture, but when he heard the sound of chewing and chewing, the hairs all over his body stood up. This old demon is definitely not just screaming like that, and reminded himself again that the farther away from this kind of person, the better. Guyao tugged at his uncle's sleeve. Uncle, let's help too. He also thought about it. He could find a chance to take the opportunity to slip away. He always felt that it was a very troublesome thing to be stared at by the old demon of the spider, and there were still a lot of eyes and consciousness lingering on him. Uncle, the talk revealed their identities. Why would they have to run over covertly? Okay, Yin Hui flicked his finger and flicked Guyao's hand away. What does this look like? How can his nephew be such a fearful coward? Go, keep up. As expected by Cultivator Tang, the monsters were only the first wave. Just as the cultivators organized, including the disciples of Chang Xianmen, recovered from despair and concentrated on dealing with the monsters, a disciple of Chang Xianmen suddenly shot and attacked from behind. The disciples of other sects, no one expected that this kind of situation would happen several times in succession. The just orderly scene immediately fell into even more chaos. The cultivator who was attacked was angry and fought back. When he fought back, he attacked other innocent disciples, which attracted innocent disciples to join the battle. This was like triggering the Donami bone effect. Caught up in the chaos. Stop it! Whoever dares to shoot at the same fellow will be killed. Brother Tang flew up into the sky and shouted angrily. The power in his voice alone caused several monks to vomit blood on the spot. Brother Tang condensed spiritual energy into his palm, stretched out from the air, and picked out the most vicious monk who had just killed them. If you leave it to no one, just kill it if you want, don't affect the actions of other monks to kill monsters. This kind of situation has happened several times. Although the initial chaos started with the disciples of Chang Xianmen, the next few incidents happened in other sections. Sure enough, These sects were infiltrated by Changxianmen or Huoshu. Now, the veins on the foreheads of the senior leaders of those sects jumped, and it can be predicted how much trouble Huoshu's hand has left them. The most vigilant are the disciples of Changxianmen. No one knows who among them is innocent and who is left behind by Fengshu, so when fighting with monsters, not only are they unwilling to cooperate with them, but they are also far away from them. The innocent disciple of Changxianmen wished he could smash his head into the monster to prove his innocence. Guyao didn't expect this development rhythm at all. He thought that Huoshu was so arrogant about his son that he would regard his son as extremely important, but at a critical moment, he still abandoned his son and chose himself, and when he left such a mess. Thinking about how much work it would take to get those nails hidden in the monks out. When he was stunned, a figure flashed in front of Guyao to block his way. The next moment, a sword energy exploded directly in front of Guyao. Qi Changjai's figure protected Guyao in front of him. "Brother Yan?" "No, Uncle Yan, what do you want to do?" Lu Huajing and Ying Muking didn't get too far away. They rushed over when they saw the scene here, and were surprised to find that this person was actually Yan Yuanjing. "I haven't heard any news about him since Ningying. I didn't expect him to appear today, and he seems to be eyeing Guyao." Faced with the situation of Changxianmen, Lu Huajing and Ying Wei were very distressed. They didn't know how to end such an endgame, but Yan Yuanjing, who they respected, seemed to have a different position from them. Transmigration, First-Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 278. Father, you're right, Gu Alchemist and the others are really good at disguising Lu. You also guessed Guyao's true body through that conversation, but he didn't expect Guyao to be so bold enough to come here. It was to watch the fun, and even he and his uncle were sweating, because they were afraid that others would not follow them. Zhang Qianfeng couldn't help laughing at the development of this situation. That's the pavilion owner of Fenjian Pavilion. I had contact with him earlier, but I didn't expect him to be the uncle Guyao was looking for. He had seen Yin Hua's demeanor in the video Guyao gave, but if he had seen it, how would he associate such a person with an older monk who was not very impressive? Hu Mei was also so happy that she wanted to throw her foxtail. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, she would have rushed over as soon as she recognized Guyao's identity, but Yao Xiu also needed to clean up the chaotic situation with the other cultivators to minimize the casualties of the cultivator. Just like this, they deserted from time to time, and their eyes kept looking at Guyao, thinking that this time, no matter what, Guyao would help her refine a few more potions of elixir. Brother Hu helped her block the attack of a demon cultivator who suddenly turned against the water, and scolded, "Be attentive, or if you die, all the spiritual stone pills you saved will be mine." Hu Mei hurriedly begged for mercy. Huoshu's gang not only installed their own people in the major sects, but also infiltrated the power into the demon cultivator. Guyao didn't have time to think about what they were thinking, and most of his energy was on Yan Yuanjing, who suddenly appeared. Like Lu Huajing and Ying Muking, he wanted to know which side Yan Yuanjing was on. Yan Yuanjing stared at Guyao, who was being guarded by Qi Changjai, and did not react at all to the words of others, as if he had to take Guyao away. Qi Changjai brought out his purple thunder sword, and the purple thunder sword felt his fighting intent and trembled. "Senior Yan, the 10-year deadline has not yet come. Does Senior Yan want to advance the battle?" Yan Yuanjing then turned his gaze to Qi Changjai and asked without emotion, "Is it really you?" The two knew that their identity could no longer be hidden, so their facial muscles wriggled in front of everyone, and after a while they recovered their original appearance. The nearby and the high-level nascent soul cultivators noticed this scene, and they were not secretive in their hearts. The other monks are nothing. You must know that the nascent soul monks couldn't see through their disguise before. No wonder they were able to blind others' eyes again and again and hide their identity. "Sure enough, it's you this time," he used a positive tone. He drew his sword and pointed at Qi Changjai. "Someone asked me to take away the ancient alchemist. You are not my opponent now." Master Yan Lu Huajing and Ying Muking exclaimed, the so-called that person is mostly a narration, and in this case, Yan Yuanjing still needs to work for Huo Shu. Not only is it bad for Qi Changjai and Gu Yao, but it is also bad for him. When the remnants of the power left behind by Fengshu are liquidated, will Yan Yuanjing be able to escape? The purple thunder sword trembled even louder, and the sword's body burst out with shreds of sword energy, which was influenced by the master. Qi Changjai stretched out his hand to grab the hilt. Is it an opponent? Go away, unless I die. Gu Yao's heart tightened when he heard this. If he hadn't had confidence in Qi Changjai's strength, he would have almost stopped this battle out loud. There were many ways to get out. He didn't necessarily have to fight Yan Yuanjing. Yan Yuanjing is only in the early days of yuanying, and it is not his decision here. The cultivator who heard this screamed in his heart while admiring Qi Changjai. Sure enough, the previous rumors were true. The sword cultivator named Qi Changjai and the alchemist Gu Yao were a Taoist companion, otherwise how would they say it? Unless I die to take people away. As soon as Qi Changjai's words were finished, he pushed Gu Yao out with a gentle force and pushed him to Yin Hua's side. He was worried about staying elsewhere. There was no way to know how many people were playing Gu Yao's ideas on this battlefield. Is Yan Yuanjing a chess piece on the bright side to contain his eyeliner? As soon as the person pushed it out, a blinding light burst out from Qi Changjai's body, as if a dragon's roar could be heard. The two figures had already been fighting each other. Weak people can't see their movements at all, and can only see after images in the air. At this time, the chaos has basically been suppressed. Because the top strengths of the continent are all here, no amount of arrangements can only have a short-term effect, so I can free up some energy to focus on this battle at this time. Many Yuanying cultivators burst out with admiration. Yan Yuanjing had a good reputation on the mainland, and a cultivator who could leapfrog the challenge would have great development as long as he didn't fall in the middle, and his excellence was beyond doubt. However, what makes people amazing is that Qi Changjai, a monk who often appears in rumors, has such amazing swordsmanship. His cultivation has not been faked. One step, this small step is sometimes a chasm that a cultivator can't cross in his entire life. Before that, it was hard to imagine that Jindan Dachan cultivator could compete with nascent soul cultivator on an equal footing. Many yuanying cultivators simply stopped and made a special trip to pay attention to this battle. Of course, they still have another thought, that is, Yan Yuanjing came to Gu Yao, and the importance of Gu Yao to them is not only a genius now that he is an alchemist, he still hides the key to building the channel, that is, the whereabouts of Huo Shu, which also falls on his uncle Yin Hua. This pair of uncles and nephews, people do not know what to say. They also thought that Huo Shu should not be too far away from them at this moment. The purpose of creating the current chaos is to deliberately embarrass them. Another main purpose should be to slow down their footsteps so that Huo Shu can escape calmly. It's just a nascent soul cultivator with similar strength to them, who deliberately hides and escapes, and really wants to find people. It's not an easy task. It's not easy, so Yin Hua's safety is also very important at this moment. These two people, from the ground to the sky, and then from the sky to the ground, shocked the cultivators who built the foundation. When did the cultivators of Jindan become so powerful? They don't think that Yan Yuanjing has a false name. The purple sword's spiritual power surged out from the body, all poured into the purple thunder sword. In an instant, the purple thunder sword raised its head and tail, turned into a purple thunder dragon. The scales on the purple brontosaurus for a moment are so clearly visible, piece by piece, that can reflect the splendor of light. A gigantic black eagle also jumped out from behind Yan Yuanjing, its wings stretched, its eagle eyes were cold and ruthless, and it looked down at the living beings from above. Dragon caught. Boom. The earth-shattering roar and the huge energy wave generated, even the monks in the nascent soul period could not approach, barely able to see the two figures collide and then quickly separated. The dust and smoke dissipated, revealing the messy surface in the center, and there were two separate figures. Duan's figure still stood there proudly. In the middle of the two figures, a huge ravine appeared, which was split out by the sword energy of the two. The purple thunder dragon shrunk many times, wandering around Qi Changjai. The scales on his body are still clearly visible, as well as the dragon horns and whiskers, and even his eyes are full of agility. The black eagle on the opposite side is not inferior. The pieces of feathers even fell down when they hit the ground, but they turned into sword energy and dispersed when they landed on the ground. I didn't expect that two extraordinary sword cultivators have appeared on our Qinhao continent. Not only did the two of them transform their sword qi into shape, but they also comprehended the sword's meaning and integrated their sword will into the sword's qi transformation. Whether it's Thunder Dragon or Black Eagle, it's like they have their own will, Tang Xiu said with admiration. No matter which one of these two sword cultivators is lost, it will be a great loss to Qinhao continent. There is no special sword cultivator sect on Qinhao continent. The development of sword cultivators is not systematic. It requires practitioners to spend more effort to understand. There is no shortcut. However, there are records in the archives of how real sword cultivators fight. A sword can split the space, so at this moment I feel especially blameworthy when I see the battle between these two sword cultivators. All sword cultivators who have mastered swordsmanship are all determined. Originally, Cultivator Tang and others thought that Yan Yuanjing should be the accomplice and remnant of the Huo family and his son, but after watching this battle, they felt that things might be different from what they thought. The handling of Yan Yuanjing needs to be handled with caution. Qi Changjai opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Gu Yao was worried, but it was a good thing to spit out this mouthful of blood. After all, there is a rank difference, and Yan Yuanjing himself is not an ordinary cultivator, otherwise even with his initial strength of nascent soul, he may not be able to get a good deal in Qi Changjai's hands. Therefore, in this battle, Yan Yuanjing was slightly ahead. Do you want to continue? If you wait for you to enter the nascent soul stage, I may not be able to beat you, but you are not my opponent now. Yan Yuanjing seemed to have a higher tolerance for monks who could make him an opponent. Others are much older, so make an exception to say these words. Our battle is not over yet, I said. Unless I die, you have no chance to take Gu Yao away from me. Qi Changjai wiped the blood stains from the corners of his mouth, took out an elixir and held it in the palm of his hand. Are you sure you want to continue? Exploding spirit pill. Seeing the red elixir in Qi Changjai's palm, many people who knew the product exclaimed. Just smelling the fragrance of the elixir, they felt that their spiritual power was about to move, and they really wanted to take a sip, as if their cultivation would be able to break through. The best explosive elixir. After taking it, the sequelae can be minimized. This time, even the Tang cultivator Meng Alliance and the Yin Patriarch couldn't help but speak up. At this moment, there is no need to ask who the best explosive elixir came from. No one except Gu Yao can refine such a superb elixir. His alchemy skills are really extraordinary, and he is really only one layer of window paper away from the threshold of the 6th grade alchemist, and he can pierce and step in at any time. Hearing this voice, many monks cast hot glances at Gu Yao, who was worried about Qi Changjai. To admire Qi Changjai's strength again, his strength is only the strength of one person, but an alchemist like Gu Yao can benefit many monks and make many monks stronger. Yan Yuanjing took a deep look at Qi Changjai and Gu Yao behind him. With a wave of his hand, the black eagle dispersed, turning into a spirit sword and burrowing into his body. The explosive flame pill can quickly upgrade Qi Changjai's cultivation from the late Jindan to the early Yuanying stage, and fight against Qi Changjai who has the strength of Yuanying. Yan Yuanjing asked himself that he couldn't win him. Qi Changjai also put away his spirit sword, turned his hand and put away the explosive spirit pill, which made many monks staring at him with regretful expressions. One more life. Yan Yuanjing's eyes were still full of fighting spirit, and he showed no sign of defeat, 2 years later, let's try again, don't forget the 10-year appointment. Okay, then I will fight you with my true strength, and I won't let you and me leave any regrets. Chi Change I knew that this time it was a trick, but again, he will still be like this. It is impossible to let Yan Yuanjing took Gu Yao away from him, no matter what Yan Yuanjing's purpose was. But in the 10-year appointment, he will do his best, without any purpose, to fight Yan Yuanjing without any distractions. Yan Yuanjing understood what he meant and replied, okay. After saying that Yan Yuanjing was about to leave, others were also a little dumbfounded. Was this Yan Yuanjing really a fighting lunatic, thinking that he could just leave if he just said it? Do you treat these monks as wooden makeup? Suddenly someone stopped in front of Yan Yuanjing. Yan Yuanjing raised his eyes and looked coldly, the fighting intent in his eyes had faded away. What is this, Lazulu? Meaning. There is a disagreement and he has to draw swords to face each other. Even if Lu Ancestor is the middle stage of nascent soul, he is not without the strength of a battle. Ancestor Lu smiled bitterly in his heart. His status in Yan Yuanjing's mind may not have been as high as Qi Changjai, but it is also a matter of time before Qi Changjai's cultivation catches up with him. The disciples of Chang Xianmen looked at the two with a very complicated mood. One of them left Chang Xianmen after escaping, and now I don't know if they are still the elders of Chang Xianmen. I don't know where Yan Yuanjing is standing. According to Yan Yuanjing's temperament, it was hard for them to imagine that he would stay to clean up the mess of Chang Xianmen. Because of Yushu's previous actions, there are not many nascent soul monks left in Chang Xianmen. Even if there is no Huo Shu in Chang Xianmen, their status will drop greatly, from first-class sects to second and third-rate. Chang Xianmen, this piece of fat, I don't know how many forces are staring at it and want to tear off a piece asterisk. Stay, you are a disciple of Chang Xianmen, stay and support Chang Xianmen together, Lu Ancestor said. Lu Huajing and Ying Muking also came out and took off the disguised amulet on their bodies, revealing their true bodies. Master Yan, Chang Xian Gate needs to be reorganized. Seeing the appearance of Lu Huajing, there was another commotion among the disciples of Chang Xian's section. Senior brother Lu was fine, and at this time, Patriarch Lu stood up, reassuring these panicked disciples, who didn't know where to go. Yan Yuanjing seems to be a person who is extremely afraid of trouble. For example, he was sentenced to be locked in a forbidden area before, which was an unbearable result for others, but he could not ask for it. He asked, "Aren't you afraid?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 279. Ancestor Lu stroked his beard and said, "What are you afraid of? Are you afraid that you and Huashu are in the same group? If you are such a person, your swordsmanship will not be as good as it is now. The reason why you act according to Huashu's instructions, but it's because I owe him, right? I know that you were brought into Chang Xianmen by Huo Shu, so what Huo Shu told you to do, you will do it regardless of whether it matches your original intention or not. To what extent, Huo Shu can't control it. Otherwise, Yan Yuanjing could use any means to get Gu Yao away, but now he said he would let go. If Huo Shu was still the head of Chang Xian sect, Yan Yuanjing would face punishment for him again. Like last time, I made a 10-year contract privately. If it wasn't for Yan Yuanjing's usefulness, the result would not be so simple. Originally, Patriarch Lu was also worried that Yan Yuanjing was completely swayed by Huo Shu and taught him to be a knife that only listened to his words, but the battle just now made him think a lot. Comprehend swordsmanship to the level of sword intent, saying that he is a knife. It is better to say that Yan Yuanjing only has cultivation and pursuit of higher strength in his heart. Seeing that although Yan Yuanjing's eyes did not waver, his footsteps did not step out any further. Ancestor Lu continued his efforts. It is not so much that Huo Shu is kind to you, it is better to say that Chang Xianmen has made you grow up, Chang Xianmen. It's not the Huo family's father and son. Chang Xianmen is now in an embarrassing position and needs top experts to sit in. Although Yan Yuanjing is only in the early nascent soul, his combat power is not weaker than in the middle stage, and he is growing very fast. It may not be long before he can stand at the peak of Qinhao continent. At that time, if other forces wanted to suppress Chang Xianmen, they would have to worry about Yan Yuanjing. Yan Yuanjing only thought about it for a second, then said, "Okay, I'll go back to Chang Xianmen, don't disturb my practice if I have nothing to do." After Yan Yuanjing set off again, a sword chi wrapped him and fled to the horizon. Lu Ancestor was still thinking about how to persuade him to stay, but he didn't expect it to be so simple. When the sword light disappeared in the sky, Lu Ancestor was still thinking, it's so simple to stay. Lu Huajing and Ying Muking were also a little dumbfounded, and Qi Changjai walked over with Gu Yao's support at this time, and said, "Senior Yan only needs a quiet place to practice. He is familiar with Chang Xianmen, which can save a lot of trouble." Then Lu Lezu laughed, "It turned out that I wanted to be wrong, so that's fine. Yan Yuanjing's cultivation is good. The stronger he is, the more beneficial it is to the current Changxian sect." The other nascent soul monks looked at each other, really let him go like this. Brother Tang said, "I think Daiyu Lu is right, Daiyu Yan and Huo Shu are different." The Silver Patriarch also said, "Yan Daiyu doesn't have the twists and turns of Huo Shu in his mind, but his temperament is very similar to our demon cultivator." Old Demon Sky Spider was watching the play happily. "Why are you all looking at Old Demon and me? Or do you want to give that kid to our Demon Deo? I think his temperament is quite suitable for our Demon Deo. Wouldn't he know what it meant to keep Yan Yuanjing behind? In the long run, it is only used to restrict their demonic way, but there will be a long night, and one more Yan Yuanjing is no big deal. If the demonic way is not up to the standard and is suppressed by the righteous way again, it will be self-defeating, and he must be gone by then." "Qinhao continent, what about him?" Tang Xiu said helplessly, "What are you talking about? Daiyu Yan is a disciple trained by Chang Xianmen. Although his temper is a little withdrawn, he can match up with the devil's way. Daiyu Yan and Daiyu Qi are both very determined people. Has nothing to do with magic." This sounded really unpleasant. The old demon of the spider said that the way of magic has something to do with the firmness of the mind. Forget it, these righteous ways have always been very hypocritical, and he is also sloppy. He still has old accounts to settle. The old demon of the celestial spider waved his hand and stepped on the celestial spider to run away, which made the righteous side also relieved. Yan Yuanjing's matter was settled like this, but the mess left by Huo Shu was very troublesome. Not only the Chang Xianmen had to be rectified, that is, other sects, including demon cultivators, must also be cleaned up. Moreover, the Changxian sect must give up some of the benefits. How to do so has to be discussed with the nascent soul cultivators under the Changxian sect, and they cannot be forced too hard. As soon as the old demon Tianzu turned around, he flew to the front of Yin Hua and his party, making Gu Yao, who wanted to run away, tighten his head. In the end, he still came. The other two nascent soul monks accompanying him also looked at the old Tianzu warily. "Demon, if you really want to get your hands on it, none of the three nascent souls are enough for the spiders to eat that day." The righteous side, who had just breathed a sigh of relief, saw the posture of the old spider, and his heart raised his throat again. When Patriarch Yin moved his feet, the person drifted away, and he still kept the words, "I'll go say hello to Master Gu, he has a life-saving feeling for the child." Leader Meng received Zhang Qinfeng's gaze, and his movements were not slow. "The ancient alchemist is a special worship of our business alliance. Let's go, we will also go over to say hello to the ancient alchemist." Xia cultivator Tang, look left and right, I don't know what excuse to make, but fortunately those two have passed by. It is difficult for the old devil to turn his head about anything, so he simply said, "Let's go over there. Let's watch the fun, and say hello to Master Gu and Yaoi by the way. Others can watch the fun, but he can't? No excuses are needed. So in the blink of an eye, Gu Yao and his party were all blocked, and they couldn't get out. Qi Changjai asked Yin Hua to rush to the room of the flying instrument. He still suffered some internal injuries in the previous battle. He should take care of the injury and restore his strength. Besides, if he is here, can his nephew be in trouble? At this time, seeing the old demon of the sky spider stepping on the spider, he was not afraid, and looked directly at the eyes of the old demon of the sky spider with an old face that did not belong to him. What's the old demon's advice? The pavilion master is going to take my nephew to go back. The implication is that he quickly gets out of the way, as far as he goes. Leader Meng and the others have come, and several leaders of the demon Dao have also followed. Road. Among them, the smiling demon cultivator like Maitreya Buddha, with a look of regret, because he didn't see Qi Changjai. Qi Changjai's fleshly body is too in line with his ideals. If it falls into his hands, he will definitely be able to create the most powerful one. The strong corpse puppet is coming. In the battle just now, many nascent soul cultivators have seen that Qi Changjai is not only good at swordsmanship, but also comprehends the sword intent, and his physical body is very tyrannical, otherwise he will not be able to fight Yan Yuanjing in the early nascent soul for so long. There has not been a fiasco, otherwise, the physical body will not be able to hold on and will collapse. The monks who have gone through the level of condensing the infant naturally understand that the process of dispersing the golden elixir to condense the primordial infant, and the process of transcending the calamity afterward, is a forging and strengthening of the physical body, which can be called a kind of transformation. The physical strength of Jindan can't be imagined by cultivators, only after personal experience will they understand. So this demon cultivator can imagine how strong the physical body will be after Qi Changjai Ningying has survived the calamity. It is not the best material for corpse refining. Why are you so nervous? Old demon, I just want to invite your two uncles and nephews to sit in my devil's palace. How about that? The sky spider old demon touched his chin with interest and looked at the two uncles and nephews. Don't go, Yin Hua refused very directly, and the two words could be thrown on the ground with a thudding sound. The righteous and the devil are at odds. Gu Yao twitched the corners of his mouth. He felt that the more his uncle said that, the more difficult it would be to get rid of the old demon. When it's time to detour, Gu Yao thought about it and said, my uncle and I thank the senior for the invitation, but right now there are many trivial matters in both the right and the devil, so we won't bother. Being stared at by so many nascent soul cultivators, Gu Yao was under a lot of pressure, especially the demon cultivator's gaze was undisguised and very wanton. The old demon of the spider waved his hand and said, okay, this time it won't work, then next time, this old demon's magic hall is waiting for the ancient alchemist. After speaking, the old demon of the sky spider led a vote of demons and went away. Gu Yao's pressure did not ease at all. Did he not let him and his uncle be spared? Do you still have to let him go to the old cave of the magic cultivator? Forget it, talk about it later. Seeing that the old demon of the spider did not continue to entangle, Meng Meng and others were relieved, and greeted Yin Hua and Gu Yao as they said before. Lu Yu and Hu Mei also came, and they were more enthusiastic than the others. Yin Hua was still very proud, seeing how capable his nephew was. If he was the only one here, these old guys wouldn't come here in person. Brother Tang invited Yin Hua to go with them, and Yin Hua accepted it after thinking about it. This is different from the old demon of the spider. Now that their identities are exposed, it is more difficult to hide them from being discovered. For the safety of the nephew, it is better to stay with the large army. Besides, Qi Changjai is still adjusting his breath. Even if he wants to leave, he has to wait for him to recover. As I said before, Huoshu ran away, but the mess left behind gave each faction a headache. It is not so easy to tell who is the nail that Huoshu buried within the faction, and how to deal with Chang Xianmen. and also requires various forces, including the magic road, to negotiate together and make a plan. Chang Xianmen is like a fat sheep that is only slaughtered. Fortunately, the appearance of Lu Lezu at this time has given the disciples of Chang Xianmen a backbone. At this time, no matter what Lu ancestors say, they will not object. Lu Huajing and Ying Muqing naturally also returned to Chang Xianmen's team. The two of them were very reluctant to give up. In fact, the days of leaving Chang Xianmen and practicing outside the door were more enjoyable than before in Chang Xianmen. The strength of the two grew the fastest during this period, but Chang Xianmen was the hardest time, and they can't let it go. Tang Xiu and others still stayed in this empty junction area. Their accommodation and travel were very convenient. They could easily take out the cave when they arrived at this cultivation base. Even Yin Hua also had one, and his cave was placed in the very center. Surrounded by other cave houses, this location is undoubtedly the safest. Although it is safe, he must be restrained in his actions and be constantly monitored, but Yin Hua is very calm, what to do or what to do, and he will not be involved in the discussion of how those forces should deal with Chang Xianmen. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 280. Yin Hua is magnanimous, Gu Yao is also very at ease, Tianfirong and Little Fatty try to make themselves ignore the pressure of the nascent soul powers. Hu Mei was the first person who came to look for Gu Yao for alchemy. She jumped through the circle surrounded by the great power of Yuan Ying outside, and left a pile of spirit grass, and complained to Gu Yao that he didn't tell him the last time. For other things, facing her, Gu Yao can only surrender. Next was Zhang Qianfeng and Lu Xiaochang. Gu Yao and Yin Hua warmly received them, because Yin Hua also knew that Zhang Qianfeng helped Gu Yao a lot, even if it was based on interests, but he also took responsibility for it. Lots of risks. When they left, of course, they also left a lot of spirit herbs, claiming that it would be fine when they were refined, and they paid a large amount of remuneration in advance. Stay, preferring to pay with spirit stones. The two of them made a start, and then a lot of nascent soul cultivators came running cheekily. Although Gu Yao has not yet become a 6th grade alchemist, which nascent soul cultivator has no disciples and descendants, and who cares? Without Gu Yao's potential for development, it would be good to form a good relationship in advance, and it would be too late to get familiar with him after he became a 6th grade alchemist. Even the leader of the Meng Alliance, Tang Cultivator, and the Silver Patriarch also came to join in the fun. These cultivators at the Yuan Ying level, how dare Gu Yao shut them out? This is good, Tianfirong and Fatty are back in their old jobs, but this time they are all cultivators at the nascent soul level, especially in the face of cultivators Tang's level. When they took over the storage bags they handed over, the hands are shaking, excited. After a long time, they will get used to it. The monks in the middle stage of nascent soul can still cause some waves. In the early stage of nascent soul, I think when they and Brother Qi were together, the monsters in the early Yuan Ying could also kill the monsters, so the monks in the early Yuan Ying were like that asterisk. However, Meng Meng leader and the others don't have much free time, and more time is to arrange follow-up matters. Fortunately, as long as they formulate a big policy, the implementation will be done by the monks below, so after a while of work, it is finally easy. So, only then did he pay attention to Gu Yao's nephew, who made the medicine business flourishing, and he couldn't help laughing at this scene. It may feel very restrained to stay in this place as a different person, but from their point of view, the uncle and nephew are clearly very comfortable, and Yin Hua is more like a big shopkeeper. The three of them walked towards Gu Yao and the other cave mansion. A cultivator who had just come out of it bumped into them. When they saw that it was them, they hurriedly saluted and then ran away in a hurry, for fear that the boss would blame them. This is... Tang Cultivator suddenly raised his eyebrows, the aura of a strange fire? Could it be that the ancient alchemist has a strange fire in his hand? This also makes sense, why the quality of the medicinal pills he released is so high. Tang Xiu thought he had found the reason, and of course he couldn't deny that Gu Yao's own alchemy skills were extraordinary, but these words reminded Alliance leader Meng, remembering what Zhang Qianfeng mentioned to him but was left behind by him. Yes, there is a strange fire on the ancient alchemist, which is the fire of the lotus heart. In other words, the city master Lu specially opened the warehouse of the city owner's mansion to thank the ancient alchemist, and the ancient alchemist went in to select the treasures. As a result, the ancient alchemist didn't fancy anything, just liked it. I took out a stone with an unknown texture and took out the lotus heart fire from the stone. Presumably the ancient alchemist spent a lot of time on the lotus heart fire over the years, and it has grown rapidly. Patriarch Yin raised his eyebrows, so it should be Gu Yao's chance, otherwise, why didn't anyone find it in the warehouse? The same is true of the remains of the Ghost Fog Sea, and there are not many monks who have been there, but today only Gu Yao has encountered it. After hearing this, Tang Xiu couldn't stop praising him. It seems that this lotus heart fire has fallen into the hands of ancient alchemist. The three big bosses didn't have any scruples about the lotus fire. The wood fire attribute can exert its greatest power on the monks with the same attribute. If they encounter the mutual restraint attribute, it may cause a backlash. And the strange fire of this attribute is obviously specially prepared for the alchemist. Yin Hua walked out from the inside, bowed his hands to the three bosses, invited them in, and the three came together. For Yin Hua, it was finally here, and he had been waiting. Yin Hua is a person who pays attention to life and likes to enjoy it, so he moves the interior of the cave with a delicate and comfortable style. Walking into it makes people feel refreshed and extremely comfortable. If there is something that doesn't match up, from the Yin Patriarch's point of view, it is Yin Hua's old face now. If he returns to his original appearance, he will be even more beneficial to this cave. Everyone has a love for beauty, and the Silver Patriarch can't help but be a little disappointed. Gu Yao gave them spirit tea and fruit, and then sat obediently behind his uncle and listened to them. Patriarch Yin didn't see Qi Changjai and asked, "Qi Xiao is still in retreat? I must have fought against Yan Xiao before, and I have gained a lot, right?" Anyone can see that these two people are attracted to each other. The more swordsmen, the more they need to hone their swordsmanship through actual combat, in order to make the sword chi and sword intent more complete, so Yan Yuanjing set up privately for 10 years. The covenant is also excusable. Just as Gu Yao was about to say yes, Yin Hua put down the teacup and said, "Let's be so, it's still far from everyone here." Smiles flashed in the eyes of brother Tang and Meng Meng. It was not surprising that Yin Hua, Gu Yao's uncle, would say these words. In Yin Hua's eyes, maybe Qi Changjai was the pig who gave up his good nephew. It's strange to have a good face. According to various sources, it didn't take long for the nephew and uncle to recognize each other. Of course, it does not rule out another kind of show-off. Tang Xiu smiled and said, "Let's make a long story short, what we are doing, you must know Dai Yin." Yin Hua nodded, "Yes, for Huo Shu's whereabouts, because I'm too far away, I can only sense the approximate position, and you may have guesses about that position." Thinking of the past, Patriarch Yin said, "Could it be the place where the ban was placed?" As soon as these words came out, the expression of Tang Xiu's leader Meng also became solemn, which was the last thing he wanted to see. Yin Hua nodded again, "It is going in that direction, and the specific location needs to be closer to judge." Brother Tang quickly asked, "Will Huo Shu notice the mark left by fellow Daoist Yin? If they are found and removed or transferred in time, wouldn't they be led astray? Or was used by the old thief?" Yin Hua spread his hands and said, "This is a unique technique of the Yin family. It stands to reason that there is no special method that will not be discovered, but there is no guarantee that there will be accidents." The three of Tang cultivators looked at each other with wry smiles in their eyes. Yin Hua's words were true, but this attitude of believing or not making one's teeth tickled. Tang Xiu said helplessly, then Dai Yin will still be needed to lead us. If the future troubles are not eliminated, the Qinhao continent will not be peaceful. Yin Hua said with a smile, don't worry, I will definitely go. Huo Shu is also an enemy of the Yin family. No matter what, I will watch him disappear into this world with my own eyes. This made the three monks feel relieved. They had already investigated Yin Hua's origin, so the three of them believed what he said, so they talked about some other topics, such as the disposal of Chang Xianmen, and then said goodbye. Left. After sending off the three bosses, Gu Yao looked back at his uncle and uncle, did he really want to go together? Want to solve that narration yourself? Yin Hua smiled playfully, no matter what, the Yin family died because of Huo Shu's ambition. I, the only descendant of the Yin family, should do something. You don't have to worry, you don't have to go so soon, take advantage of this time. You and Qi Changjai, hurry up and raise your cultivation base. Gu Yao did not doubt that he was there and nodded in agreement. However, during the period of time he did not leave here, of course, he continued to do business. If he wanted to break through to the nascent soul stage, the amount of spiritual stones spent was not a small amount, and even a few of them could not blindly rely on the help of an uncle. Because there were few Jindan cultivators who dared to cross the gangsters' territory and come inside, Hu Mei finally found a business opportunity, took the opportunity to solicit business and became an agent, sent the spirit grass to Gu Yao, and then sent the medicinal pills bring out. Of course, Gu Yao made a lot of money, and she made a small head, but it was also a huge profit when she accumulated it. She turned Hu Mei's joy into its original form and rolled happily on the bed, with the spirit stones piled up into hills beside it. Brother Hu came in, saw this scene, but he knew that in Renqiu, Hu Mei's image and reputation were not very good. Renqiu's preconceived notion for her was her charming appearance. If someone from Xiu came in to see this scene, he should know that his sister is actually a financial fanatic, and that the innate supernatural powers are not used well, and they are dedicated to such trails, and sometimes they are very confused. Brother, look at the spiritual stones I earned, the fox in Mao Level City shouted happily to Brother who was standing at the door. No matter how much you earn, what kind of coke is there if you can't raise your cultivation base? Hurry up and pack up and prepare to go back. Brother Hu reminded, will you not sell all the medicinal pills this time? No, the fox covered his storage ring, I kept enough for myself. I'm going back now? I haven't stayed enough yet. Then you stay by yourself, we're leaving. You. The fox stumbled down, and if Gu Yao was gone, then she would stay for nothing. After a while, the fox jumped to Gu Yao again to win the last wave of business. When Hu Mei came, Lu Huajing and Ying Muking were also there. They came to say goodbye to Gu Yao and talk about something by the way. Hu Mei came and walked quickly, and she would not disturb others to talk about business without her eyesight, but she had to leave her communication with Gu Yao for future contact. Down. Lu Huajing took out a jade slip and a jade tablet, put it on the table and pushed it to Gu Yao. This is the location of the teleportation array and the jade tablet that can be accessed. The ancestor said that in the future, without your consent, Chang Xianmen will no longer use the teleportation array. Now the teleportation array is blocked, except for the jade card that cannot be freely entered and exited. This jade card is also the key to mastering the blockade formation. Both Lu Huajing and Ying Muking have been to the Tianlin continent, and they know what Gu Yao and Qi Changjai are asking for. Whether it is from a friend or a moral point of view, Chang Xianmen can no longer interfere in the affairs of the Tianlin continent. When the teleportation between the two sides resumes, the monk sent there will have to be called back. In fact, when Gu Yao and Qi Changjai appeared on Qinhao continent, it already showed that this teleportation formation could not control the opposite continent. Gu Yao looked at the jade slip and the jade card in a very complicated mood. It has been so many years that this teleportation formation has fallen into their hands, but he can't say for how long it can be kept. Although the cultivation world pays attention to eliminating demons, he has always criticized the evil way, but in the final analysis, it is still a place where the strong eat the weak. Therefore, if the cultivators in Tianlin continent cannot improve their own strength, they will not be able to truly control their own destiny. In any case, this thing was the main purpose of their coming here, and Gu Yao put it away. Thank you, for me, and Qi Change I would like to thank old ancestor Lu. Lu Huajing took a deep breath, took out another booklet, and handed it to Gu Yao with some difficulty. This is the list that can be collected so far, all the monks brought from Tianlin continent in the past, and their current results. Some people there may be no way to find it. There are many things that Lu Huajing, the proud man of the Changxianmen in the past, is not qualified to touch, and the ancestor Lu will not let him touch these things. So after reading this booklet, Lu Huajing deeply feels that the Changxianmen is sinful. Therefore, the result of Changxianmen now is purely self-inflicted, and it is good not to be completely destroyed. Seeing the expressions of Lu Huajing and Ying Muking, Gu Yao also guessed that the booklet was very heavy. He still opened it and read it. The first thing he saw was the situation with Gu Yan's group of monks, Gu Yan's whereabouts and fate. Gu Yao knew the most. He was looking at the other two people. They were all very talented. If he was born in Qinhao continent, he would definitely be valued if he joined a certain section, but in this booklet, Gu Yao saw that female cultivator. In the end, he became Huo Ming's cauldron, and he lost news within a few years. The other male cultivator, like Gu Yan, is in a state of disappearance, and his whereabouts are unknown. Needless to say, he was sent to that kind of like Gu Yan. Like place. Each list represents a heavy ending. Most people are missing, or there is no such person in the Changxianmen, and some people have become disciples of the Changxianmen. There are still alive, but if it is not for this. In this investigation, no one knew that they were from the Tianlin continent. The one with the highest cultivation base among these living ones is the Jindan strength. This list made people feel very bad. Gu Yao put down the booklet. Anyway, I still want to say thank you. Lu ancestor can completely hide these things, and don't take the initiative to open up these sores. Those who are alive and have problems will be dealt with by Changxianmen, and those who are okay, let them go. There is no need to take the initiative to remind anything. Whether it is a last resort or not, it is meaningless to mention these, and it is not easy for some people to live, as long as they can pass the test in their hearts. Okay, Lu Huai nodded. The ancestor said, the monks from Tianlin continent in the future can join Changxianmen if they want, and Changxianmen will treat them equally.